3 top 5 wins this season, one of those on the road, one of the best victories in America, and that is going down to Florida and getting that win, and taking care of Bama last night, taking care of Kansas in the non-conference, and the Kansas game was not a fluke because the best team in the area right now is the Missouri Tigers. And it's been a long time since that has been said around here, that the best local team going right now is Mizzou. Kansas State, unfortunately, fumbled the last couple of games there in Utah. Rough trip for both Kansas teams heading to Utah. And I think Kansas State's now in the position to where they're going to have to win the Big 12 tournament or have a lot of other bubble teams just collapse down the stretch. KU is in a free fall, and Bill Self saying that they need to just get away from everybody, just get away from each other, just not be around each other anymore. They're calling it, they need a break. All right, let's just call.
We were on a break.
Yes, we were on a break. 5 pages, front and back. Okay. Missouri doesn't need a break right now. They just need to keep playing as much basketball as possible. They have 5 games remaining in the regular season. They are 20-6 already. They're number 15 in America. If they take care of Arkansas over the weekend, they'll probably move into the top 10 because they fell by losing at Tennessee and at home to A&M by a total of 7 points. They fell down to, 20, 21, whatever it was. 21. Then they win the 2 games last week, move up to 15. And now if they go 2-0 this week by taking care of Bama at home, scoring 110 points. And if they go to Arkansas, that damn near beat Auburn last night in Auburn. Arkansas was game. And they are, by the way, Missouri's riding high right now. Arkansas is playing for their tournament life the rest of the way.
Yes.
So if Missouri goes down to Fayetteville and thinks they're going to walk through and have the same Arkansas team that came into Columbia, they're going to lose that game. If they are riding high from this one, thinking they're going to skate into Fayetteville and just take care of business because they've already played them once, Arkansas is in a different stretch right now because they were very close to knocking off Auburn last night. If they didn't go like 6 for 15 from the free throw line and 2 of 19 from behind the arc last night, Arkansas, they lost by 4 points? And
7 over. Well, look at the little hack a shack.
Yeah, they were up by 1 with 2 minutes to play.
Yes,
so it was one of those games, but they couldn't hit a free throw or a 3, and they damn near went to Auburn and pulled off one of the best wins in America. So Missouri will have their hands full coming up on Saturday. But last night was one of the best wins and enjoyable games that I can remember for Missouri in a long, long, long time. You know, people have talked about this is the best team since 2012. And I would agree, best team since 2012. But the team, it reminds me more of the 2007-8 team that went to the Elite Eight. Not because that team went to the Elite Eight in 2012, lost in the first round. It's not that. It's just for whatever reason I get a different feel for this team with that particular group of players and what they were able to do in going to the Elite Eight. Mark Mitchell to me is more Damari Carroll than Ratliff to me. They don't play 4 out, 1 in was really that 2012 team. So they're not just burying a bunch of threes. They've got different ways that they can play. They can, knock down the mid-range jumper. Obviously, Caleb Grill is a stud in knocking down threes, and Cruz can hit a 3 with the best of them, and Anthony Robinson's knocking down threes, and not even mentioning Tamar Bates and, Mark Mitchell finally being a guy that's realizing how good he can be, and his athleticism and length and spring is tough to defend, and his ability to finish around the rim is tough to defend, that if he gets more aggressive and attacks more often than looking maybe to pass and get other guys involved, which is great. Dennis Gates has talked about Mark Mitchell being an unselfish player, and there are levels of unselfishness, because I think there's also a level of selfishness by passing the ball. I think you could be selfish if you pass it too.
If Kobe was passing to Smush Parker, that's unselfish. So Kobe had to take on the triple team. That was a smart play.
Kobe passing to Smush Parker because he wants an assist would be selfish. Kobe taking the shot is the play.
Yes.
That's not self. Mark Mitchell last night was unselfish when the play was called for him and he got the ball and he finished, or at least attempted to finish.
11 of 15 from the field.
Right. But there have been times where Mark Mitchell has had the ball down low and looks like he has a mismatch, and then he'll kick it out to somebody else. And I wanted him to recognize the mismatch more often than not and go and attack, because that's being unselfish. Because the play at that point in the game, or whatever that offensive set or that matchup, the unselfish play is for you to be aggressive. That's the unselfish play. Okay? That gets lost in basketball often. You know, I know people don't think Calipari's that great of a coach, and I think he has his issues. I think he can typically – I don't think he'd be in the position he'd be if he, wasn't a decent enough coach. I think late games, they lose a lot of close games because he panics. I think he absolutely does that. He's not a calm individual on the sideline, where you see a lot of coaches are calmer. Not
Dennis
Nate
Gates might be the calmest guy who has ever walked the face of the earth.
Dennis Gates at times looks comatose late. And, do you know there's a big game? Like, this is a close game, Dennis, where Calipari is sweating and throwing his coat. Nate Oates is breaking clipboards and things like that. Like, you see some coaches in the way they act. But one of the things that Calipari used to talk about all the time is being unselfish by taking the shot.
Yeah.
That your job in this offense or at that particular set is to take the open three. By you hesitating and then dribbling and then swinging it around to now it's a lesser shot, you became selfish because you were trying to do more than just simply take the shot. It was there, it's open, shoot the ball. So I gained a different perspective from that standpoint, and I think Mark Mitchell, what he's doing right now, he's had 2 career highs in the last 2 weeks, that he's realizing, Sterling, how good he can be. Caleb Grill knows how great of a shooter he is. That much we know, okay? He's the most confident person walking on the floor. There is nobody more confident on a basketball floor than Caleb Grill and Christian Brown. Those guys walk on the floor, and they look across the floor and go, you guys aren't better than me. I'm the best mother bleeper out here, and I'm going to annoy the bleep out of you guys for 40 minutes. I'm going to have the coach screaming and yelling at a referee because he thinks I punched a guy in the face coming around a screen, and I can read the lips when Nate Oates is saying, he does that all the time. He does it all the time. He is always doing that. You guys are not calling him. Like, they are so mad at Caleb Grill and so mad at Christian Brown, and they walk out there and it's like, I'm as confident as anybody. Are they the best players on the floor in any particular night? Sometimes they are. Sometimes they aren't. But one of the things that I thought was missing from Mizzou was Mark Mitchell looking in the mirror and seeing a dominant player. And I think he's finally doing that.
He is such a good finisher. He is a pretty damn good ball handler for his size. He is such a good player when it comes to body control. And that's such I think, an underrated aspect of these big, at least in college specifically. How many times does he get blocked?
Not very often.
How often do you see him maybe not have the best angle, but using his body to garner at least a sliver, and he's still able to finish? Like, that's what's so impressive. It's the strength, but coupled with the body control. Like, Josh Gray has the strength, doesn't have the body control, right? We've seen that time and time again. I'm not trying to get a shot on Josh Gray. Aiden Shaw doesn't have the strength or the body. But, like,
real quick to that point, I just want to add on to that point, and I'll let you continue there. If he's not finishing, he's getting fouled.
Yes.
The fouls drawn per 40 minutes in conference play, he's 4th. Free throw rate in America, he's 16th.
Yes.
It's not just at Mizzou. Last year at Duke, his sophomore year, fouls drawn per 40 minutes in the ACC, he was 7th. Free throw rate in the ACC, he was 1st. Free throw rate in the ACC his freshman year, he was 7th.
Yeah.
He has that knack and that ability that when he's not finishing, Sterling, like you talk about his ability to finish, when he's not finishing, he's probably getting fouled.
Well, because he goes into contact, and where he puts the ball when it goes up makes it nearly impossible to block. If you're a KU fan, you would wish Hunter Dickinson would do this. But Mark Mitchell does not shy away from contact. It's what every single coach tells you when you're like in 6th grade and 7th grade. You go, stop doing the fadeaway. Stop doing that. When have you seen Mark Mitchell try a fadeaway?
I mean, I don't remember.
I can't. You can't, because he goes into contact, he initiates it, almost forces the ref to call something, or if they don't, and he's able to keep the ball so far away while having control of it. It's not out there for someone else to get. He keeps it high. It's good fundamental. It's what you teach players to do, but he has the athleticism with it. He has the great vertical. Mark Mitchell really is, I think he's the best player on this Missouri team. And again, you're right. It just comes down to, and best is relative. Is Caleb Grill the best? Is it, at times Anthony Robinson has looked like the best player. Tamar Bates looked like the best player against Kansas, which again is great if you're Missouri, showing the depth. I just think Mark Mitchell has the upside of a guy that can absolutely take over a college basketball game any given night against any given team, and that's what we're witnessing.
So what I'm thinking of is the 2009 Missouri basketball team, not 2007 or 8. 2009 was when they went to the Elite Eight and lost to UConn. They're in Phoenix is when they lost to UConn. They were in Boise against Cornell and Marquette, and then the JT Tiller rule that came into effect after they beat Marquette, which was great because JT Tiller had the wrist injury, and it was late in the game against Marquette, and he got fouled, and he got hurt, and he was holding his wrist, and he went out of the game, and Mike Anderson put in Kim English to shoot the free throws. And Marquette was pretty pissed because after Kim English made the free throws, JT Tiller came back in the game to play defense.
And so, smart play.
And now that's changed. Yeah. Now the other team, if that guy can't shoot free throws, will pick from somebody on the bench to go and shoot the free throws because Buzz complained and said they did that on purpose. And maybe they did. I don't know. But JT Tiller had been battling that wrist injury all season, really. But that particular team, with a guy like a JT Tiller, a Zaire Taylor, a Leo Lyons, a DeMarais Carroll, a Kim English.
Jarrett Sutton.
Yeah, well, okay, yes. Was Jarrett on that team?
Yeah, he is. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
He was a sophomore.
Was he? Yeah. Well, I know he was, because he was a senior on the 12 team.
And then you forget about Matt Lawrence.
Well, Matt Lawrence is sort of like the Caleb Grill to a degree.
Yeah.
Like the guy that's shooting 41%. Caleb Grill obviously shooting more, but Matt Lawrence took 200 threes that year. Shot 41%, taking 200 threes. He didn't shoot 41% on 50 shots. All right. He took 200 threes that year. And you've got a guy like a Leo Lyons, right? A DeMarais Carroll.
A Steve Moore, some say.
Some would say a Steve Moore. But like Zaire Taylor reminds me a little bit of Tony Perkins. JT Tiller, a little bit of Anthony Robinson, right? If I'm making these comparisons. Kim English, Tamar Bates. Like there's some things about that team as opposed to the team that played 4 out, 1 in with Ratliff in the middle. And it was just, it was pace and space. It was one of the early pace and space teams that we've seen. Like we haven't seen, like the Warriors changed the calculus and Steph Curry, but that Missouri team went 4 out, 1 in and said, we're spacing it, we're pace, and we're shooting a bunch of threes. We're going to change the calculus on this. We ain't playing defense, but we're going to change the calculus. That 2009 team was a good enough defensive team while also still playing really well on offense. This team is lacking on the defensive side. They're still top 50 KenPom, but they're number 8 offensively. That 2012 team was like, in the 100s of KenPom. Like defensively, they were number 1 offense, but they couldn't stop anybody. And we saw that come back to bite them in the first round when, they gave up almost 90 points to a 15 seed.
Well, Missouri's defense is just different this year.
Yeah.
They're not traditional, one-on-one defense. They're not going to get down. If a team gets into their set, it's going to be tough. But they are so fast, so athletic. Mm-hmm. They have the length. They get so many steals. Before this game, they were 5th in college basketball in steals. 5th, averaging 10 a game. They had 12 against Alabama. They just forced other teams to make mistakes. It's what they do. It was a little bit of was it Mike Anderson with the fastest 40 minutes?
40 minutes of hell.
40 minutes of hell, whatever it was. It's a little bit like that defensively because they're not as good defensively when it's like Josh Gray at the 5. They're fine there if there's a huge guy against Hunter Dickinson. That was the move, right? That was the play, which again goes to the depth that Missouri has. But when you have Mark at the 5, you have Trent Pierce kind of at that 4. Anthony Robinson is just surprising everyone with his vertical ability. I mean, they tried to make it a pass on the outside, and he just went up and
his
got
length,
it.
Too.
He had 3 steals.
Yeah.
Tamar Bates, 4 steals. Trent Pierce, 2 steals. Caleb Grill, 3 steals. I mean, It's just incredible. And this is all in one game.
Yeah.
This is just what this Missouri team does. They are so quick and opportunistic, maybe is the correct word. They're the Marcus Peters of defense. Like, that's what it is. They're the Marcus Peters.
But I think they're the Marcus Peters, but they play defense when they don't get steals, too. You know what I mean? Like,
agreed, but I think it's
Marcus Peters is getting interceptions are like, well, do I really want to play?
They're closer to Marcus Peters than they are to, let's say, like Trevarius Ward.
Okay. But in comparison to that 2009, I don't want to get bogged down in that comparison because I think we can probably go another 10 minutes with that as, evidenced by, shows of past. But when you talk about the steals, it's interesting just going back and looking. That 2009 team, this is crazy, 2009 team steal percentage, they were third in America. This year, steal percentage, they're fourth in America. Like 14.4% of the defensive possessions Missouri gets a steal this year. It was 13.7 in 2009. So, from what you're talking about, that does have that same comparison to 2009. Not 2012 with Frank Haith. They were good in 2012 with Frank Haith. I think they were still top 20. But defensively overall, like, they weren't all that great in effective field goal percentage and things like that. And this is a team that gets a lot of steals and they get buckets off the steals. Defensively isn't great. If they improve the defense, then they'll be one of the best teams in America. They can absolutely make a run. They are built for a team to make a run in the tournament. They are. Now, there is the history that immediately flashes into the minds of any Mizzou fan or anybody that's from around here. And it reminds me a little bit of pre-Patrick Mahomes. That 2017, 2018 season, 2018 certainly, when the Indianapolis Colts came to town in the divisional round, it was like, oh, God, here we go. Here we go again. The Colts, Well, we watch things differently with Patrick Mahomes now at quarterback. We watch games during the regular season differently. We watch postseason games differently. We're not thinking about the horrors of Arrowhead. We're not thinking about all of the ways this team can break your heart. That's not the case. It is still the case with Mizzou, that even with a team that it's like, man, this team can make a run. That 2009 team did make a run. They had veteran guys. They had shooters. They had inside play. They had ways to score if the shot wasn't falling. This is the best team in America at getting to the free throw line. All right, they're number one in America at free throw attempts to field goal attempts. Number one in America. They get to the free throw line. They're top 40 in three-point percentage. They're top 30 in two-point percentage. So offensively, they have different ways to score, different ways to attack you. Defensively has certainly improved. And if that continues to improve, then this team can make a run and this team can find themselves in the conversation for San Antonio. And I know that's crazy to talk about because Missouri has literally never been to one. Just win 4 games in one tournament. Yeah. Win 4 games in one tournament. That's all, you're asking for. I think this team can do it. Will they? We'll see what the matchups are. But it's the first time since 2009 and 2012 that I've looked at a Missouri team and said, this team can make a run in the tournament. They can win 4 games depending on matchups and how they play a couple of weekends in a row.
Rebounding is no longer this massive issue for Missouri. You mentioned the free throws. They're incredible. The best in the SEC by a wide margin. Second best three-point shooting team in the SEC. Most steals in the SEC by a wide margin. They're the only team that's in double digits. In turnovers, they don't turn the ball over. They're 5th in the SEC. It's pretty close right there.
And they cause turnovers.
That's what it is.
They get extra possessions in a game.
So that's what it comes. For a team that is as fast-paced as Missouri can play at times, they're pretty efficient taking care of the ball. With not having, in my opinion, like a traditional point guard.
Yeah.
Like they don't really have a traditional point guard. They all take care of the ball. That to me is so important. And one of the most underrated aspects of Missouri is they are very effective with the ball in their hands.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. I want to talk about the 5 games remaining for this Missouri team, where they sit right now, number 13 in the net rankings. They have 5 games remaining. 4 of those 5 are quad 1 teams. They've got 4 more chances to get a quad 1 win before the regular season ends. They already have 6 of them on the season. They are 6-6 in quad 1 games. 0 quad 2, 3, or 4 losses as well. That's why they're up to number 13 in the net rankings. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. You know why D2 Day is Saturday?
Oh, February 22nd.
2/22/25. 2022 would have been awesome. You know, they probably do. They probably D2 Day, D2 Day every February 22nd. But that's coming up on Saturday, and Rockhurst has a big matchup against Missouri S&T, top 10 team in America, and Rockhurst with a basketball turnaround this year. They have as many wins this year, it was 16, as they have had since 2019, an entire season. They already have that many wins. So a nice little turnaround that they have. And first-year head coach who was part of the Rockhurst program before and then went to Wisconsin for a number of years coaching under Greg Gard, and now back and turning the program around. So we'll talk with Christy Beyer, Rockhurst University Athletic Director. Matt Lane will join us at 11 o'clock. Myron Metcalf coming up at noon, ESPN radio host, college basketball insider. We'll talk with Myron. Nothing to discuss with Myron today at all about anything whatsoever. Missouri has 5 games remaining, 2 home games, 3 on the road, at Arkansas, at Vandy, at Oklahoma, and then mixed in there is that home game against South Carolina, and then that final game of the season at home against Kentucky that I should have looked ahead and purchased tickets a while ago for the family to go to the game with my wife, myself,
me,
little man,
me and Dylan,
little miss, and the 4 of us. But
there's only 3 of us. You counting Mick?
I'm really counting my wife, my son, some UK fans in the family, a fun little house divided. We're not a house divided, okay? I don't mind, Kentucky basketball if, for my wife. It's like the house divided, Washington State, Virginia Tech. No, that's not a house divided. You just root for different schools. That's not a house divided at all. Kansas, Kansas State, KU, Mizzou, K-State, Mizzou. That's a house divided, okay? Yeah. Those are house divided, but not really a house divided. But we were going to go down there and check out the game, and I'm not smart. Like at the beginning of the season, I'm like, I should have bought the tickets, but if they were 0-17 in conference play, I don't know that I wanted to spend the money on the tickets to go down there, but it still would have been fun for, her to see UK. But yeah, it was late to the party, and probably not going to spend the $300 secondary market to purchase a ticket.
Hey, I looked right here. It looks like 112 tickets, as low as 112.
Where? Tickets for less? Okay, let me go check that out. Let me go and see that. Probably also not going to spend probably $500 for the 4 of us to go watch. It would be awesome. Be fun. We may do it. I don't know. As it gets closer, I don't know. Maybe we get that little itch. I was like, let's get down there and check that game out. Sort of depends on.
Well, if I end up going, I'll let you know how it was. Okay.
Yeah, please do that.
I'll let you know.
That's very kind.
If I get tickets.
No, I appreciate that.
Well, okay, here, how about this? If I get tickets from my guy.
Yeah, your guy. My guy.
He gave us 4 tickets last time.
Uh-huh. Well, here's the thing.
I'll go and bring 3 friends, and I'll let you know how it went.
Pictures, would you? The problem is, if it depends on the weather. If it's bad weather, then we would have a better chance of going because Little Man has a baseball tournament that weekend.
Oh.
So
blame him.
Yeah, but also, if it's bad weather, the baseball tournament gets canceled, But we can't really buy tickets based off good or bad weather because it's, early March. Who knows? But they have 5 games remaining. What's their record the rest of the way? Let me ask you this, Sterling. What do you think it is, and what would be a reasonable expectation of how they would finish in these final 5 games?
I think 3-2 is a reasonable expectation. Again,
that's what I wrote down.
I'm still having some sort of
my paper.
I'm super optimistic. Mm-hmm. But I'm also trying to be a realist. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself here because I do think at Arkansas is going to be a tough game. I think that's going to be a tough game. South Carolina, I don't like always just saying automatic win. That should be one. If there is one in the SEC, that's it. At Vandy's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
They've got some wins, and it's a weird chord. It's always that odd.
Vandy's been pretty good this year. At Oklahoma, they've been much better at home than on the road. Oklahoma's not good. But again, road game in the SEC, and I don't know what Oklahoma's record is. If they'll still be trying to make they're 16-10. They're not making it, I guess now. 3-10 in conference. They would have to go on a heater to end the year.
They were undefeated at one point, top 15.
13-0, right? The last undefeated team.
Yeah,
and then Kentucky. I think 3-2. I think 4-1 if you're really ambitious. I think 5-0 is still on the. I'm not saying 5-0 is not is impossible.
I think it's unreasonable to think that this team to say, well, they're going to go 5-0. I think they can go. Reasonable to me is 3-2. Anything less than that is sort of a disappointing finish down the stretch.
Yes,
where I do think a 3 seed is available right now for Missouri. They're number 13 in the net rankings. They can absolutely be a 3 seed if they. Again, they got 4 quad 1 wins available.
Yes,
in the regular season. Not to mention going into the SEC tournament. So is a 2 seed available?
They go 5-0.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, you go 5-0, win a couple of games, you go 7-1 the rest of the way. I mean, yeah, then yes, a 2 seed would be there. But that's, again, you're getting ahead of ourselves with that from where Missouri is right now. They're 20-6. They're 9-4. I think 23-8 entering conference play. If they were to go 2-1 in the SEC tournament, 25-9, I think they're a 3 seed. That's finishing 3-2 the rest of the way. I think, though, the way they're playing, they don't seem like a team that's going to take a team for granted because they took care of Oklahoma and they took care of Georgia. You know, it wasn't like they just are sleepwalking through some of these games. They're winning in dominant fashion in some of these games. I would have liked to see them start out a little bit better against A&M, but that's not taking A&M lightly. That's just one of those where you're a college kid. You know, the team is not going to bring it every single night, and they still fought and damn near won that game, even though, you know, they fell behind early. It was like the exact opposite of last night when Missouri jumped all over Alabama. A&M jumped all over Missouri, a couple of Saturdays ago. And Missouri ends up losing that game by 3. But, you know, they dominate Oklahoma. They take care of business against Georgia on the road and win by, 13, 14 points, covering the spread. And it's what they're doing. They're winning and they're covering along the way. I think they can go 4-1 because I don't think they're going to take Arkansas lightly. I don't think they're going to take Vandy lightly. I don't think they're going to take Oklahoma lightly. They're going to beat South Carolina. So to me, the rest of the way, it's like, where's the one loss come from?
I think Vandy's the toughest one.
I think Vandy. I think Kentucky at home because Kentucky can shoot with you.
Yeah, but
if Missouri took care of Alabama, I think they can absolutely take care of Kentucky because I think the name on the front of the jersey will have Missouri ready to go, and it'll be a top 20 team in Kentucky as well.
Final home game of the season.
Right.
I mean, these players feed off of the crowd. They're 17-1 or 16-1 at home.
They have one loss.
So the point, they are so good at home.
Whatever the number is before the dash.
Yeah, I feel I feel more comfortable with Missouri beating Kentucky at home than I do with Vandy on the road, which is a wild thing to say. And I think Missouri has this mystique at home going for them right now. I think the players feel it. The only home loss was again to A&M on a game winner. It was a game-winning three. I mean, they have just protected home court so well. The crowd has been phenomenal. Shout out to everyone who's been out there, the students, the alumni. It's been electric out there, and you can hear it through the screen. I feel more comfortable saying Missouri beats Kentucky than I do saying Missouri beats Vanderbilt in Vandy.
Yeah, because Kentucky's losses this year are at Clemson, at Georgia, at Vandy, at Ole Miss, and at Texas. They lost at home to Arkansas, which was that huge game. They lost at home to Alabama, 102-97. And they lost on a neutral court to Ohio State. So those are 3 losses. They've got 8 losses this year, 2 of them on their home floor, 6 of them away from Rupp Arena.
I'm not saying Missouri's just going to wax
right,
Kentucky,
I know, but
I'm
to
saying,
your point, that's a home game.
Yeah, so if I'm ranking the toughest of the remaining 3,
right,
I'm going Vanderbilt, probably the toughest one. I'll say Kentucky 2, Arkansas 3. I consider putting Arkansas just again on the road.
Well, I'll let you know, Ken Pom has Missouri with a 2-point win against Arkansas this weekend, 56% chance.
Okay.
That is the closest of those games. So the next closest would be Oklahoma on the road, a 3-point win with a 60% chance. Vanderbilt, a 4-point win with a 63% chance, and Kentucky, a 4-point win with a 65% chance. So now, if you look at Ken Pom, they'll put individual games, predicting wins, losses, things like that. And then at the end, it'll be a projected record. So individually, he's got all 5 of those games as wins, but the projected record has them ending up 3-2 the rest of the way. Because just how the math works. Yes. If you've got a 52% chance of winning 3 individual games, the math says you're not going to go 3-0 in those 3 games, no matter what the Chiefs keep doing with their, one-score games and their wins. It's, like 0.4% chance or whatever for them to have 17 straight one-score wins or 17 straight wins that games were within a score in the NFL. That's just rare to happen.
And then Joe Lunardi has Vanderbilt as the last 4 bye. Last 4 in is both Oklahoma and Arkansas as of right now. I'm surprised Oklahoma's there.
Still in.
We'll see when it gets updated. It gets updated tomorrow.
They're in. I mean,
Friday.
bracket matrix. Oklahoma is sitting as an 11 seed. They're part of the last four in. Last four in at bracket matrix: Vandy, OU, Wake Forest, and Arkansas.
So if
and
those,
again, Arkansas is playing for their. Now this was bracket matrix was last updated Wednesday morning.
So this was Tuesday. So we'll get another update tomorrow. Point still remains though.
Yeah.
These are teams. 3 of these teams that are fighting for their their March Madness lives.
Yep.
So those can be a little frisky.
Right.
So, just throwing it out there.
You're right, absolutely. No,
I'm hedging. I'm emotionally hedging right now.
But here's the thing, though: Missouri's not sneaking up on anybody anymore.
No.
So if they did sneak up on Florida, or snuck up on whoever else, like they're going to Arkansas, and Arkansas on Saturday is looking at Missouri as a marquee win.
Yes.
This could be a ticket-punching win for us. We damn near had one at Auburn, giving us a win that not many teams that are on the bubble would have. Saturday against Mizzou, number 12 in America in KenPom. Probably, a top 10 team the way they're playing right now, considering what they did to Alabama. And the number 13 team in the net rankings. Huge quad one opportunity. And a resume builder. Okay, well, Arkansas is looking at that. Vandy, Oklahoma looking at that as well. So
I don't get how Arkansas still has a chance. I understand that BPI and all the stuff they do.
And the 37 in KenPom.
Same with Oklahoma. I know they've had a brutal schedule because it's the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at their wins right now. They beat Kentucky. That's great, right? That was the big one we talked about.
Mm-hmm. They beat Michigan. On a neutral floor. That wasn't a home game, so that's a neutral floor win.
At Miami, is Miami any decent this year? Probably not. No, they're horrible.
No, Miami's
They're
not good.
horrible. They've won 6 games. So they don't have a lot of these
No,
great
their
wins.
best. It's Michigan and Kentucky are their 2 wins. Are their 2 really good? Well, Texas on the road is
that's a good one.
A good enough win. That's probably their 3rd best win.
I guess I'm surprised at and you know me, I'm okay with the SEC getting the love because that boosts Missouri. Arkansas is just surprised, and they're getting a lot of love for almost wins. Instead of they almost beat Alabama, they almost beat A&M, they almost beat Auburn.
But the thing is about the bubble is now let's look at every other team that they're compared to on the bubble, and what do those wins or losses look like?
Sure.
So that's the thing. It's like we can look at it and go, how is that team in? All right, so we look at let's go with let's go Wake Forest here. So Wake Forest, their wins are they beat Michigan as well. And
Oklahoma beat Michigan too.
Right. So Wake Forest's top 50 KenPom wins: Michigan, North Carolina at home, and SMU on the road. They've got 3 wins in the KenPom top 50.
And then Oklahoma's kind of the same thing. They beat Arizona.
Yeah. The other good teams they played 51 Xavier, lost. They played number 4 Florida, lost. They played number 18 A&M, lost. They played number 23 Clemson, lost. Number 1 Duke, lost. Number 25 Louisville, lost. They lost to number 87 Florida State as well. So all of the really good teams they've played, they've lost to. Mm-hmm. So that's what you're comparing Arkansas to. It's like, all right, do you have your good wins? Do you have your bad losses? Mixed in there. We'll see. Text comes into the show, 913-912-4810, says, when OU loses their next 5, they won't be in. That text comes in from Todd Lebo to the show. Oh, wait. That actually was Todd. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will talk with Christy Beyer, Rockhurst University Athletic Director, then Matt Lane coming up at 11 o'clock. Myron Metcalf at noon. More Zone next. We'll talk with Matt Lane coming up at 11 o'clock. Myron Metcalf coming up at noon. Right now, let's talk some Division II D2 Day, not D-Day, D2 Day coming up in a couple of days. Rockhurst University, a big one, a big basketball game as well. Joining us now to talk about Rockhurst University here on this Thursday is Rockhurst Athletic Director Christy Byer joining us. Christy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I am doing just fine. We're looking forward to this weekend as National D2 Day across the country, and a Division II guy myself, certainly looking forward to that. You have had a long career, student athlete, administrator at different D2 institutions. I know certainly there's some things that I find to be charming and great about the Division II experience, but what is it about the Division II experience that sort of has kept you around it throughout your career?
Yeah, for sure. I've been an athlete, a coach, an administrator, and what I like about Division II is just the balance across the board. You're able to compete at a really high level. You're able, as a student athlete, to really focus on your academics and your future career path, and you're really able to integrate within not just your campus community, but your local community as well. So you kind of get the best of all worlds in that well-rounded student-athlete experience.
And all the NIL money is just is great.
And honestly, yes, there's so much instability right now at the Division I level.
It's true.
You just never know what's going to happen. And so right now I feel like Division II is doing the right model of a student athlete and what a true student athlete is. And we do have the luxury of that stability right now.
Yeah, no doubt. What a cool couple days coming up for you guys. I know there's a game coming up tonight before Saturday, but Saturday on 2/22 with D2 Day across the country to have this awesome matchup with the basketball program. Yeah,
basketball in this area is just so exciting. And what I love about, especially our new men's coach, Kyle Blackburn, is he's really tapped into the local Kansas City talent. So with his recruiting class that he brought in this past year, as well as our future recruiting class for next year, Kansas City just has great high school basketball, and he's really done a great job of taking advantage of that. So come on out, see some local talent. He's also, and both him and our women's coach have done a good job of recruiting the four-year high school athlete as well as tapping into that transfer portal. I think if you go too heavy on one side, you're going to jeopardize competitive success, but they've both done a good job of combining the two.
Yeah, and the turnaround this year for the basketball program, too. I mean, 16 wins, the most that the school has had since 2019 already. And it's cool that, a guy that's been a part of the university before, goes to Division I level, gets more experience, and then comes back, and you certainly see that paying dividends this year.
For sure. I mean, he's been at the highest of the high level at the University of Wisconsin, and he's really used, his ability to evaluate talent. And I think at our level, that's probably the number one, top quality of a coach is the ability to, how does that level translate during the recruiting process? How is that person going to make an immediate impact? And as you can see from the guys he brought in, they've been able to make an immediate impact and turn that program around.
We're visiting with Rockhurst University Athletic Director Christy Byer here in the zone. The other thing that is really cool that Rockhurst has going for them is the showcase with William Jewell and the KC Crown competition. I know this rivalry that's going on. How important is it for you guys to win 3 straight? To have all of these crowns.
Yes, so we've, not to brag, but we have won the award every year since it's been created. And so it's just a fun way to, for our students, for our coaches, for our fans, to just hype up this series across the board in all sports. Any time that you can enhance that game environment or enhance the excitement, especially with a cross-town rival. A lot of these kids have played against each other growing up, so there's also that element too. But it's just a fun way to create a fun, competitive series, within our wonderful city of Kansas City.
Yes. What all goes into the KC Crown competition? Because I know, look, you guys have lacrosse. That's awesome. Basketball's turned things around.
Yep.
Women's basketball, tennis. You've got all of these things going for you. All of that, encompassing with the KC Crown?
Yes. So every sport that we share is a point. And so that could be a point in the regular season. And if there is no regular season matchup, it's the finish in the conference tournament. So we have this point total, and at the end, obviously, we tally the points. And, the last couple of years, some years are closer than others. With us adding the 7 new sports last year, obviously with first-year sports, there's a lot of uncertainty, so it was pretty close last year. I think it came down to the last series. So it's just, as I said, it's just a fun way for our student-athletes advance to get into the competition.
Christy Beyer, our guest, Rockhurst University Athletic Director. One of the things I had wondered for a number of years is there's so much popularity in volleyball around here. It's become such a big sport here on the women's side with soccer and volleyball here in Kansas City. A lot of competition, a lot of talent coming out of Kansas City in the volleyball world. But out west, it's such a big deal on the men's volleyball side. Like we've seen some, college basketball players that grew up playing men's volleyball. We don't see that very much around here. And I've always wondered, like, with the growing enthusiasm and interest on the women's side of volleyball, if there would be an uptick on the men's side. So curious from your standpoint as an athletic director, what made it, I guess, appealing to
Yes.
add a sport and add men's volleyball that isn't as popular around here, but is such a big deal out west?
Yeah, it's in different pockets of the country, it's definitely a lot more popular. But I'll tell you, you'll see the Missouri-Kansas area. You'll see that in the next couple of years, the uptick in popularity of boys volleyball, as it has been a sanctioned sport on the Missouri side. So that is a high school sport for boys volleyball, and it's gaining popularity in Kansas with a lot of high school teams adding club programs. And then the boom of, club travel volleyball for boys volleyball. So you're going to see a huge uptick in that in the Midwest in the next couple of years. We knew that it was a sport that, with the rise of boys volleyball, there wasn't a lot of college programs that sponsored it. So we thought there was a really big opportunity to have that since these boys don't have anywhere to go collegiately. And we were right. In this first year, our roster, we had no problems filling that roster, and I know our coach is turning people away right now. And in year one, we have been able to be really competitive. It's a huge sport in the St. Louis area, and that's one of our main recruiting areas for prospective student athletes. So it's just been a super exciting sport. In the men's side of the game, there's less rallies. It's more, it's more you get points quicker. The guys are, extremely big and fast and strong, and it's just a really spectator-friendly sport.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch on the women's side, and certainly the men's side. It is an exciting and fun sport. And coming up in the spring, I had mentioned how good you guys are in men's and women's lacrosse, so that'll be a lot of fun getting ready for that. And of course, Ella Coleman and getting to watch her. I know a lot of team sports out there, but pretty exciting when you get the best freshman in America returning to school.
Yes, for sure. That was just a huge recruiting get for us. And you know what? I'm just hoping we can play outdoors at some point.
Eventually,
with any of our spring sports.
One day.
That's my goal. That is my goal as an athletic director, to hopefully we can be outdoors at some point this spring. But no, I'm really looking forward to our spring sports. That weather starts warming up and you get outdoors and you have a beautiful day. That's actually, as an athletic director, that's probably the favorite part of my job.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. I think we're all looking forward to getting outside a little bit more. Christy, thank you so much for taking some time out and joining us today. Saturday will be a lot of fun. D2 day across the country, and that big matchup on the basketball side to go out and watch what should be an awesome basketball game on Saturday.
Yep, thanks for having me.
All right, there's Rockhurst University Athletic Director Christy Beyer joining us here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. A D2 day coming up on Saturday. Should be a lot of fun. More Zone rolling along right after this. 2 o'clock. We'll talk with Myron Metcalf coming up an hour from now. We'll talk some college basketball with him. Let's talk some NFL football from KCSN, the podcast that is sweeping the country. Right, Matt? It's sweeping the country, the laboratory?
Oh, absolutely. It is.
I knew it.
It is it's sweeping the country just like the snow that is spread across half of the country right now. That is what the KC Lab is doing currently.
I knew it. By the way, did you see the videos from Detroit? The different neighborhoods in Detroit? Have you seen those videos, Matt?
I have not. I've been dealing with my city shutting down
sorry.
1.5 inches of snow over the past 24 hours.
Yeah, I know it's a little different.
I can't really. Yeah, it's like a natural disaster out here.
It's Detroit is unbelievable. It's neighborhoods flooded from all the rain, and then it froze. So it's like there's videos of people looking outside their house, and their cars are halfway up, and it's all ice. It's like their cars are sitting in a frozen lake.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, yeah. So not only did it flood and then froze in Detroit. We don't have that here. We just have the freezing part of -7 degrees. So other than that, it is fantastic. Matt, other than the actual game, the Super Bowl was amazing. They won the coin toss, and then I fell asleep. So I don't know what happened after that. I'm assuming they went ahead and won, and they're three-peat champions and the greatest dynasty of all time. Anyway, besides that, Matt, let's get that out of the way before we talk about some off-season stuff. What was your takeaway from that game? And then we will move on to some other things.
Yeah, I mean, they got their butts kicked kind of from the opening whistle all the way through. There's a few things that early in the game, if maybe they tilted a slightly different direction, that this game could have stayed competitive. And then if this game stays competitive long enough, you never know when you're going to get into the higher pressure situations, which team excels and which team kind of starts to crumble. So I don't think if you play this game back, 10 times, the Chiefs definitely get blown out all 10 of them. But they are the team that needed the breaks to be competitive in that game, and that hasn't really been the case since Patrick Mahomes took over. They've never really been the team that needs all the breaks to be in the game, and that's the way this felt. So hat tip to the Eagles. They had a great game plan on, especially defensively, on how they plan to rush the Chiefs and the coverage and their coaching staff. And the Chiefs just didn't quite seem like they were clicking on all cylinders, both coaching, game plan, execution, all of the above. So butts kicked, and a few of the breaks didn't go their way early, and it just sent it straight downhill.
Yeah, it was a rough one, and I'm with you. I think if a couple of things early go a different way, then they're more into the game, and it doesn't completely snowball on them, and maybe Patrick Mahomes gets more into the groove of the game and isn't feeling like he's searching the entire time. And also if there's game pressure on the Eagles, because the defense, I think, held up their end of the bargain. That was one of my takeaways is, Matt, for the number of points that the Eagles scored, I thought the defense played really well in the effort and gave the offense plenty of opportunities. And I guess that's part of where this team has evolved into, from the defense being the part that was sort of letting the team down to now this is an offensive team that has let the defense down a number of times. And obviously they've, won, 10 straight postseason games and everything after losing to the Bengals and all of that stuff. So they've been good enough. But that's an interesting part to where we're at with this team that I didn't know we would see while Travis Kelce was on the field with Patrick Mahomes, that it would be the offense that was the issue.
Yeah, and it really was. And it was kind of every level of the offense. And I guess we can't say it was surprising, because if you go back and watch all year, all of the same issues that we expected to see, or that we were seeing in little spurts all year, were there, and they just all showed up together and probably at their worst in this particular game. So I can't say entirely that we were surprised. It's just we hadn't seen it all come together like this. We hadn't seen them at any point in time during this run not be able to overcome some of their shortcomings, and it's just they simply couldn't do it anymore. And I think a big part of it was I put a lot of this onto the offensive coaching staff. I don't think they had this offense all year is a struggle, but especially in this game, they didn't seem very ready to go against a defense that kind of did what they've done all season. They didn't throw a lot of curveballs at them or anything. The Chiefs didn't quite seem ready for it. Then you go on to the players trying to execute it, and they were making a lot of mental mistakes or just simply getting outplayed. There were some situations where they needed somebody to just win and get open, and it would have been there if it was. And whether it was a Hollywood Brown play, a Travis Kelce play, whatever it was, it just simply wasn't happening. So The offense is in an interesting spot going into next year. I think they're up against it, and they kind of need to reinvent themselves a little bit like they did after that 2021 season, which they traded Tyreek Hill. They bring in all these new wide receivers, and you see this entirely new offense. It kind of feels like we're at that point again. This offense needs not an entirely new makeover, but they do need to reinvent themselves and figure out how it's going to function, because the short 5-yard passing game in which Travis Kelce and Mahomes can bail you out on every third down is no longer viable as we see Kelce age and we see teams start to pick up on it.
Visiting with Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. There's been a lot of debate on the comments that have come out from a couple of coaches. One of those comments from Joe Blameyer talking about Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback and the pressure and all of that to take advantage or not mess up an all-time great player, and also the unnamed coach that when asked about do Super Bowls get old, that he said it does get old, which is one of the dumbest things to say. Even if you feel that way, you look at the reporter right in his eyes and you lie like a dog. Hell no. This is amazing because you never know when you're going to get back. What do you make of those comments? Are they being overblown right now? Let's take the Joe Blameyer one first. Is that being overblown? Is there context to it? What did you make of those comments about Patrick Mahomes?
I'm sure all of this stuff is missing a little bit of context, and therefore the actual quotes is being overblown. And I don't think – I think some people's takeaway has been that the coaching staff is scared of what they're trying to do. They're coaching scared, they're calling the game scared, and that's why they've been a relatively passive team. I don't think that was the takeaway from it. My biggest takeaway from that was just simply that there's a coaching staff that isn't 100% sure how they want to maximize the talent at quarterback that they have. And I'm not saying they're doing a bad job or a good job either way. It's just they seem to be second-guessing themselves quite frequently of, are we doing the right thing for this talent of a quarterback? And I think that does show up with the gameplay in that you see an offense that sometimes is being run like they have an Alex Smith level of skilled QB going on rather than Patrick Mahomes. So I do think that the second guessing leads to some, I don't want to say doubt, but it's not great optics the way the season has gone on, and you look around the league and see other offenses seem to put their super talented quarterbacks in these systems that utilize their mobility, that utilize their arm strength, their ability to just control the game, and it feels like the Chiefs are trying to make Patrick Mahomes a little bit more of a paint-by-numbers quarterback, and that doesn't align with what he can do.
Yeah, I took it sort of the same thing. I didn't read it as they're so scared that they're calling a scared game plan. I guess when I first read it, you feel burden. It makes it so much more stressful. You feel the burden as a coach and as you're putting a game plan together to not waste his abilities, to not go through a season where you don't give him the opportunity. I know specifically when he said, going through those game plans to not waste his ability, to not screw it up as a coaching staff. So rather than feeling like this just unbridled excitement that we could do anything, it's actually more like a terror, like we cannot be the reason that we screwed this guy up or this team. When I originally read that, I read that as there's way more introspective scouting on themselves of how they can maximize Patrick Mahomes. How can we get more of Patrick Mahomes? That there's a fear that if they don't do that, you will waste his abilities. How do we find creative ways to use his ability? Because there's a pressure to make sure you do that. Because if you get a great player, you've got to take advantage of the fact that you got a great player. So how do you do that? That's on the coaches to be able to take advantage of those things. And I think when we see the way the offense has evolved, Matt, in that it has become more Alex Smith than 2018-19 Patrick Mahomes, I think it's easy to connect the two, see his quote, and then say, oh, well, that means they're calling a game plan like Alex Smith, as opposed to the defenses have adjusted and are forcing the Chiefs to play offense more like Alex Smith.
Yeah, there's obviously going to be both these things, not both, but defenses are certainly adjusting to force the Chiefs to play a different style of football than they were earlier on. But I think if we even go back to 2022, and it was the Chiefs kind of caught teams by surprise, but they still felt like they were putting all of Patrick Mahomes' talent to use in that season. They were throwing a lot more of the corner routes. They were trying to push the ball downfield a little bit more, at least into the intermediate areas, and they were getting him on the move more frequently. It wasn't as all quick passes, even though the ball was coming out shorter and faster than it had the years prior. It just feels like the farther we have gone into this, the more, I don't want to say dumbed down, because it's very, very complex, but the amount of talent required from the quarterback seems to be lowering to run what the Chiefs' offense has been. Now, how much of that is the offensive line play? How much of that is dictated by the defenses they play, the wide receiver rooms? There's a lot that goes into it. I just think when we see kind of, I'm going to say, regression of the offense since that time, paired with a quote that comes out and kind of makes it seem like the coaching staff is maybe not unsure, but at least is having to make sure that they are, making sure and second guessing themselves that they are utilizing a skill. It just isn't great optics for the way things look. And I would love to see whether it's an outside voice or whoever it is, just somebody in that room be able to stand up a little bit to the masses, aka Andy Reid, and just like not everything has to be the West Coast offensive system, from 2004 that every other quarterback you've had has run. We can do more things again like we had earlier.
Yeah.
It seems like those things are disappearing.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. Like, I think the optics make it, to me, a little bit worse than maybe what it is. The optics of how the offense has been running, the depth of target, the shorter passes, I think some of those things are the case. And I do wonder if, there is an element of trying to break out of what their particular system is because Patrick Mahomes maybe aligns with a different system as opposed to Patrick Mahomes fitting into this particular system that they run. What's odd is that early on in his career, that wasn't the conversation at all. Like, it was, man, Mahomes is, 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards. So I just try to figure out, like, what has changed since then. And I think a couple of things. I think defense certainly is a part of it. But do you feel like Mahomes has become more conservative himself? Like, there's nothing wrong with not throwing into tight windows. It's like Mahomes doesn't throw into tight windows. He throws to the open receiver. Well, that seems smart to throw to the open receiver. But so much of those throws are behind the line of scrimmage. As I mentioned, the average depth of target being what it is. Is Mahomes himself starting to pull back the reins and playing more of a conservative, complementary game with how good the defense is, as opposed to 2018, like, well, the defense is giving up a bunch of points. We're going out there to score because we have to each and every time out. And again, the difference that the defense was playing. I know I threw a lot of things at you there, but there's a lot of, to me, there's a lot of meat on the bone with this one particular quote in what the optics, how it is, and how it can be inferred depending on the recipient of the quote.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and we will never know the answer of, is it the coaching staff and when I say coaching staff, let's cut straight to the point. I mean Andy Reid, who has control of everything that happens on the offense. I do think that the voices that are left in the offensive side of the room have all grown entirely under Andy Reid, and I don't know if many of them are standing up to him if they think that he is incorrect. And we don't know the inner workings of that, and I'm not saying that nobody pushes back, but I do think there might be a difference between Eric Bieniemy, who did have coaching experience outside of the Andy Reid tree, not necessarily controlling the game or calling plays, and I'll be very clear, but at least standing up and saying, I don't know if this is the best path. Maybe we should try this instead. Or even Doug Peterson, who very much an Andy Reid guy, but by all accounts, he was vocal about what he thought would and wouldn't work, and he went on to have success elsewhere. So I do think the coaches on the offensive side left might be trending more towards Andy is all we know, and that's probably not a great thing. And then this goes into, well, is Mahomes not being aggressive because of his own choice? Did we listen to some of his pressers and the way he's talked over the years? He put a lot of that 2021 season on him, especially coming off the Super Bowl loss the year before, where he's trying to do too much. Maybe I can do less and we can win. And so maybe some of it is him. But I also do think, looking at Andy Reid, who is very much a guy that likes to have control of everything happening, I think there was finally a point after 2 seasons where they don't win at all, where there's been a little bit of a pressure coming from the coaching staff of, you don't have to win the game every single drive. Yeah. You don't have to always be the guy that wins the game. We can let others do it. And so it's probably a combination of both. Yeah. It's just, it almost feels like whether it's his choice or the coaching, they have taken a lot of the gunslinger, a lot of the aggressive Patrick Mahomes out of him. Go back and watch the final touchdown throw to Xavier Worthy. That deep shot watch him just throw how his body language is when he throws that ball. I have not seen an angrier throw from Patrick Mahomes in years. That was a throw that said, I am fed up with just being here. I don't want to be here anymore. But it was just the most pissed off throw you've seen. And that guy, we don't really see him during the regular season or even the playoffs up to that point. It's just that kind of body language and aggressiveness, I do think, has been either coached out of him to some degree, or he is left behind because it did result in 2 seasons where they didn't win the Super Bowl.
It's funny you say that because I think it was Trevor Sikkema that when he threw that tweeted out, that's one of the most FU throws that I've seen in a long time. And clearly he got a lot of bleep on Twitter from saying that because it was, oh, an FU, he's down by 40 points, an FU. And what he was saying is exactly what you're saying. Like an FU, I'm done with this BS of dinking. I'm throwing the freaking ball to Xavier Worthy over the top, FU, and this is how I want to play football. But it was being interpreted as, oh, Mahomes is saying FU to the Eagles, so he throws a touchdown down by 30 points. No, It had a feel of like, bleep it, man. I just let me do this, And
right.
and
he's just letting out his frustrations of the game and of the season. I mean, last year it was the blow up on the referees and like the handshake of Josh Allen, and it had nothing to do with that particular like moment. It was just the culmination of everything. I think that throw, and again, just kind of watching his body language on it, that throw was the culmination of just him being pissed off the way the season had gone. So, it very much an FU throw, and it wasn't to the Eagles. It wasn't to fans. It wasn't to any particular person. It was just, I want to be out of this moment. I have this built-up kind of just like anger from the way things have gone, his own play and the way the game's going. But it's just that we don't see that. And you can go back to earlier seasons, and whether things were going well or not, he made throws like that frequently where you're just like, it's just he's putting a ball into a situation that not many quarterbacks can. There's like a certain just look to it, and we don't get a lot of those anymore. Right now you get a lot more touch throws. You get him trying to place balls into these perfect areas, and I'm not saying the arm strength isn't still on display from time to time. It's just everything feels more calculated the past 2 years rather than just being, no, I am better than everybody else. Let me show it. And like, I think losing that has been, I don't want to say like a net negative for the team, but like you do need to find a way to balance that guy and the calculated ball control, I am controlling the flow of this game quarterback if you want to continue to get back to where, you're trying to go 3 in a row at some point in time again.
Well, I'm going on record. I did this after the Bengals loss, and I'll do it again. Assuming health, Mahomes is winning his 3rd MVP this year.
I hope so. And I had a good feeling about this year, and we got not that at all. I do think it's different now.
I had a good feeling about this. Yeah, sorry. I had a good feeling about this year because of the weapons around him. You know what I mean? Yeah. I have the reason I feel it this way is Mahomes twice in his career has had the season end where he feels like it's his fault. And people have come out and said it's Mahomes' fault. It was the second half against the Bengals and then 2 Sundays ago. The second half against the Bengals resulted in him coming out and having a bleep you tour and winning his 2nd MVP and the #1 offense in the league of, I'll show you. Okay, you think that I'm the second half Bengals? No. I'm the MVP of the freaking league. And this is one to where he has been getting clowned and downright destroyed and legacy cut down and brought back because of those 4 quarters of football. He's going to come out next year with the Michael Jordan notes. I took that personally, and I'm placing money on Mahomes to win his 3rd MVP this year.
Yeah, I definitely think that we are going to get a different version of him, right? And I think this goes in with the idea of like this offense does need a little bit of reinventing just to figure out exactly who they're going to be, how they're going to do it, and pull it off. And I do think he's at the forefront of that, and so we'll have to see. Like, I do think I have slight reservations about the supporting cast around him being able to help him get to that MVP, but I do think that we are going to get I don't want to say better because it's not like Patrick Mahomes has been bad. He's been very good in high-leverage situations. For the type of football they've been playing, he has been excellent. But I do think we are going to get, at least to the eye, a vastly more pleasing to watch, more fun to watch, looks on the surface area more dominant Mahomes next year because it's exactly what you said. He is the reason they lost this game. He's going to be a little bit pissed off. He's going to be trying to prove something, and that has always been a bad scenario for the rest of the NFL when he has kind of been in that in those shoes going into a year.
Yeah, and the reason I don't get caught up as much into the weapons is I know Kelsey was different a couple of years ago, but that MVP season was Juju, MVS, McColl, Justin Watson, Sky Moore, a different Travis. He had 110 receptions, 1,400 yards, and 12 touchdowns, so that is different. But he also didn't have Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy on that team as well. So we'll see. Real quick, the unnamed coach, it does Super Bowls get old. Just don't say that, right? Just lie or walk away from. I don't know. Just lie.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken nothing from that one because I can guarantee that one was taken out of context. I can almost promise the context was, yeah, it stinks to have to work longer than everybody else every single year. The more time away from your family, from getting ready for the next part of the next off season is difficult. It gets old working that hard that long, which one, I mean, don't say in general because you're playing in the Super Bowl, that's the bonus. But I'm sure it does make things slightly harder for them rolling that in year after year, always coaching a month plus longer than everybody else, always working a month plus longer than everybody else. So, I think I understand that very much taken out of context, but also, like you just said, just don't say it. Yeah. That's just not something that needs to be said, even if you're feeling that.
Yeah, and you know what? It'd be cool if Henry McKenna would just say, all right, here's the full quote. So you guys make of it what you will. Because he said, before the game, a coach told me that media members had been asking him if going to the Super Bowl gets old, and he bluntly told me it does. There was legit Super Bowl fatigue from this Chiefs team. It was completely clear in the first half when things escalated quickly. That was McKenna's words, but the "it does" is the quote from the coach. Okay, so what's the full quote then? Would be nice. All right, off-season moves, most important to you. We'll get so much more into this, obviously, because the league year isn't for another few weeks, but what's the most important move for this Chiefs team in the off-season?
I've hit on it a couple times. Number one to me is just figuring out how the offense changes and whatever that's going to be. So, I don't want to spend more time on that because I think there's players that matter and things like that. It's just they got to figure out what the offense is going to be. And so I think that starts is Travis Kelce coming back? And if so, how do you, it sounds bad, diminish his role to where he's entirely a role player and you're not relying on him and Patrick Mahomes' mind-melding plays to solve issues? Because we saw this year, it just wasn't that consistent. He wasn't able to be that player as often as they needed to. So the whole short dink and dunk offense, and then when that's covered or taken away, Travis Kelce's going to make everything all right. It just doesn't work anymore, right? So they got to figure out what the plan is with Travis Kelce and how that is going to be designed into a new offense to still utilize him if he's around, or if he's not, how are they going to make this thing function? So that's step number one. And then obviously step two is, who's playing left tackle? How do you figure that out? And that is the billion-dollar question that they have struggled with for years now.
Yep. Matt Lane, Casey Sport. Do you think? Last one. Do you think Kelce retires? You think he's back for one more year?
I'm so torn.
Yeah.
I'm leaning yes. Still, I think once you start questioning it, that's a very slippery slope to say you're coming back. And it sounds like he was questioning it slightly last week on the New Heights podcast. So we shall see going forward. I do think when you start questioning it, it gets real tough to come back and do 9 months of grueling football when you have everything else at your disposal.
Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Matt, I've already pre-purchased the draft guide, so looking forward to April when that thing comes out. I love it. It's one of the main resources any Chiefs fan. If you have not, if you don't get the draft guide from KC Sports Network, because what I love about your draft guide, Matt, is that it is a full, all-encompassing with a Chiefs focus. With a Chiefs focus, there's no other draft guide you're going to find out there. You can have Dane Brugler. There's a lot of the Beast. I use that one as well. But your guys's specifically to the Chiefs. I love it. Love it. If you don't have it, you're dumb. If you love draft season, so I've already pre-ordered it, and I need April 7th to get here right now.
No, I appreciate it. That is the one thing every year that I tell people, if you have one thing of ours that you really take, want to take in, that is the thing, because I love the draft. And like you said, there's great draft guides everywhere. You can always find general work up on guys coming into the draft. You're not going to find anywhere that is going to look at it entirely through a Chiefs lens at the level that draft guide does. And so if you're a Chiefs fan, that is a must-have. And you can get it, gum.co/KCSN25. You can pre-order it now, and it will be available on April 7th, like you said.
Yep, I already got it. And now I'm just going to sit here, and I've already ordered it. Now I'm like, well, April 7th seems so far away. But you know what? You guys got a lot more work to do, so I bet you wish April 7th was a couple of months later with all the stuff that goes into that.
There's a lot to be done still, for sure.
Matt, you're the man. Appreciate it as always, brother.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Absolutely, you too. There's Matt Lane. Great stuff from him. And again, I say it every year. There are two of the main guides that I use around draft season. It's Dane Brugler and The Beast at The Athletic, and it's the KC Sports Network one. And, Dane Brugler's overall, The Beast, is unreal. And it's a great resource that I use, but it is not specific and centric to the Chiefs, where at the KCSN draft guide, they have their rankings too, and everybody has different rankings, and they have their write-ups of the strengths and weaknesses, but also how does he fit, which is a specific part of every single player in the draft guide of how they fit with the Chiefs. The coordinators, the length of the defensive lineman, the length of the offensive lineman, what Andy Heck wants in a player, and comps that they have. And then they also have like their own individual guys that they're fans of. Like, all right, this is a Matt Lane guy. All right, this is, a John is my guy. That's my guy right there. So yeah, it doesn't come out till April 7th. But you know what? Combine next week. When the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl, there's only 1 week where we don't have a game to talk about or the Combine. That's this week. Last week we talked about the Super Bowl. Next week is the Combine. I mean, it's like,
and if they add 18 games,
if they had 18,
I don't even know if it would be a week.
Right, it wouldn't be. It would be the week of the Super Bowl, and then that next week it would be the Combine. Like they'd be heading to it doesn't travel, right? It's still in Indianapolis. I'm getting the draft in because the draft's in Green Bay. The Combine's always in Indianapolis. So it used to be fun to go with. Now not really worth the time. And I think a lot of coaches are saying that it's not really worth the time either. The Rams never go. But I mean, like media member covering it used to go every year. It was fun. But not as many coaches and GMs really go.
Well, then you and I could go, and we'll have a fun fun sitcom show.
Oh yeah, a rom-com?
I said rom-com. I meant sitcom.
It could be a rom-com, just a couple of guys walking around that are married and having their
stuck
fun
together in Indianapolis.
Interactions
that's what I was thinking,
with their significant other on Zoom and on FaceTime and stuff like that.
It could be a fun bit. I feel like we could do it
for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and volunteer to not go, but if you want to do that, go talk to Chad or Todd and see if we can get somebody there to cover it for us. That's perfectly fine. I think, Dylan, you want to go cover it for it? Corey covered it.
Yeah, I'll go by myself.
Corey covered it for us a couple of years ago and stole stole food from a different company.
Oh, great.
Corey went there and he was covering
Set the bar very high.
Yeah, and he went and had some food at lunch.
St. Elmo's?
No, it was like at the media area.
Oh.
So he's walking around and there's like this big spread of like these Danishes and different things. So he's over there eating, right? And he goes back to the table, brings a couple to the table, some coffee. The next morning, there's a sign that says, "This food for whatever company only."
Well, if I didn't see a sign, I would eat it too.
Corey
I would
was like,
do that.
I think I ruined it for everybody.
Now he just found a loophole in the system.
That's right.
Dylan, let's go find some loopholes in Indy. What do you say, pal?
There you go. St. Elmo's. Go enjoy the overrated cocktail sauce. All right, we'll take a time out. We'll come back, and I do want to talk a little bit about that question about Travis Kelce. Diana Rossini was on the Rich Eisen show yesterday. She gave her thoughts on what she's hearing around the league for Travis Kelce. We'll talk about that. Myron Medcalf joins us at noon. We got Sports or Leisure at 1 o'clock. More Zone next. Thank you to Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast joining us. Talked a lot of college basketball in the first hour. Myron Metcalf comes up at noon, talking college basketball with him, our college basketball insider, ESPN radio host. Hear him on game night, hear him on Sunday mornings, right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. So if you're driving around on Sunday mornings or at night, depending on the schedule that night, like we got Bethany and Covell coming up tonight after a Hawk Talk with Bill Self. But sports night, Myron Metcalf, you hear him on, or game night, I should say, game night with Myron Metcalf, and then Sunday mornings with Myron Metcalf. We'll talk with him coming up at noon. Sports or leisure in the 1 o'clock hour today.
We changed the name while you were gone, by the way.
I heard that.
Sports and or Dylan. It was actually Dylan's idea, believe it or not.
I doubt that.
Dylan.
I doubt
Dylan, it was your idea, was it not?
I doubt that.
It was.
You doubt correctly.
No, it was your idea.
I co-signed, but it was a little bit of my idea. But
he started it.
Concurring does not mean you're coming up with the idea.
I combined.
No, he
I
started
combined
it.
And or.
Mm-hmm.
So
Actually, I go. We could call it sports and leisure if we wanted to. With Jason going, he goes, or we could call it sports and and/or. And I go, I think I like Dylan's version better. Then you can choose.
yeah,
It's like choose your own adventure.
Right. They do choose at the beginning. That's what they choose which side they want to start with.
That's the or part, I guess. But I like the and or.
Plus, when you abbreviate it, SAL doesn't sound as cool as SOL.
that's true.
So there you go.
And
Got that one,
also,
too.
now that we're talking it out, they have to get sports and leisure to win, which I think if I'm correct, that's the reason why it's and leisure,
It's
right?
sports or leisure.
Oh, goodness.
It's SOL.
So Dylan, now you kind of
Yep.
prove my point here. Actually,
I'll just turn my mic off here.
Sports or leisure, as they would call it. Anybody with a brain would know that it's sports or leisure. That comes up at 1 o'clock. We'll talk with Myron Metcalf coming up at noon.
Do you know that Jim Abbott had a...
it's called a callback.
That is.
There are some people who have no idea why he said that.
It's a good
and
callback.
those that do,
It's a good callback.
you're in the know.
Yes, that's right. Is it Devin or Devon? I can't remember. That's another callback from a while ago. All right, so Diana Rossini was on the Rich Eisen show yesterday, and they were talking about the Chiefs and the offseason. And let's play clip number 2 here about Travis Kelce. And here's Diana Rossini weighing in on what she has heard around the league about the decision for Travis Kelce.
You know, I can tell you from just having a few conversations with people around the league over the last few days, there's definitely a sense that Travis is going to try to play more. I haven't heard anyone say, yeah, he's really struggling with what he wants to do. It's definitely leaning more towards that. That can, of course, change. This is going to be his decision only. But for this Chiefs operation looking to move forward here, I think they feel pretty good that Travis has got a little bit more left in him.
I think he has a little bit more left in him. I think he also thinks that he's got more football left. It's just a matter of, are you ready to get your mind right to go through another full season if this last year was annoying and was stressful and was, driving him crazy, as he said on the podcast last week. There is no podcast this week, so there is no update to, hey, Travis, how you feeling now? 1 week later, you still thinking about, are you going to return? You're going to retire? You're going to return? What are you going to do?
No Kelce availability this week.
Yeah, that's right. No Kelce media availability this
More
week.
available than the Chiefs, though.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
And so he has till March 15th, I think was the date that the Chiefs gave him. Or March 14th, whichever day is the roster bonus that he gets $11 million. The Chiefs would like to know before that. The league year starts on March 12th, and they're going to have an answer eventually, obviously, because that roster bonus and what the salary cap number is going to be, the cap hit for Travis Kelce this year being around $19 million, or if he retires, they save $17 million against the cap, and they carry the $2 million of, dead money. And so he's got a decision that he has to make, and Diana Rossini is hearing that people around the league are not expecting him to retire, which is interesting because after last week, it seemed like the consensus after that Wednesday show and us playing the clips of it, seemed like the consensus around the city and different media members was that, well, after hearing that, I think he's leaning towards retirement.
Not this fella.
Me either.
We were team, at least I am team still one more year. That has not wavered my thought process.
It sounded like a guy who was just burned out from that year. And as you take more time to get away from it, you're talking about never playing football again. And I think when you're a guy like Travis Kelce, as opposed to the team and the league deciding for you, when you get to make the decision, there's two parts to this. One, if you're thinking about retirement, then hey, you probably should. There's that conversation, right? But if you're questioning whether or not you want to hang it up, then you probably shouldn't hang it up. Because then are you going to regret feeling like you left a year early? I still had another year in me.
Yeah.
You'll never get that back. You'll be 50 years old, and you'll never get that last year. Whatever post-career is going to be waiting for him post-career. And he won't have the summer like he did last year with Taylor Swift and traveling to see her concerts all over the place. They can chill together. So it's like, well, yeah, but if he retires, then he gets to enjoy his off season and he gets to enjoy this. He can do that now. I know it's not as long of an off season, but if they lost in the AFC Championship game, it's 2 extra weeks of an off season as opposed to what the off season is now. Like he's still going to be going through, I think, a much more relaxed or downtime, less stressful offseason than he did last year when everything was so new and he was traveling. He was back-to-back Super Bowl champions, Saturday Night Live, Taylor Swift, different countries, traveling around, doing the TV shows, taping a TV show all day, getting on a private plane, flying to Lake Tahoe, and on Thursday night, arriving in Lake Tahoe, taking a car from the airport right to the stage to host the celebrity karaoke that night. Like that seems like an example of what Travis Kelce's offseason was. No wonder when you get through the season, it's like, this is just driving me crazy. Because have you had actual time to sort of decompress? Because everything was so new with the Taylor Swift. All right, now I don't have to play football anymore.
It was all compressed. There was no decompressing.
Right.
All compression.
She's, maybe. She's on the road. She's in this country. She's in that country. Finally, I've got free time. I can travel and see her. And now I'm like, there's a lot. Like, do you ever just take some time and just, all right, I'm going to chill, for a couple, 3 weeks, for a month, whatever. And I think if a guy like Kelce, who was what feels like almost always on when he's out there in the public, for a guy like him just to simply recharge the batteries, I don't know how much recharging of the batteries. He certainly didn't get as much recharging of the batteries last year than maybe in other off seasons before.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably safe to assume. It doesn't mean that, well, because he taped a TV show on one day, he didn't, every time they show the commercial, he doesn't have to tape the commercial that day you tape it once, all right? You do the scenes and film for grotesquerie, and then you're done, okay? Yes, you traveled to see her for a couple of days in this country. Then you traveled back, and then you've got downtime. So there's downtime in the off season, but when it's an everyday grind from training camp to February 10th, February 9th, and then the travel back, getting back to Kansas City February 10th, the exit interviews on February 11th. Then after that, when it's just a daily, every second is about that, it takes a lot more of unwinding than, especially at his age, than maybe he had last year.
I believe you said this on Sunday Sound Off, and I think it's a really good point. I think this was you, so I apologize if I'm attributing a good quote to you when someone else was actually the smart one.
You don't have to apologize.
We agree that once you take a year off at this age, you're not coming back. Mm-hmm. This is your last opportunity to play in the National Football League. And there's not a league once you're done. It's not like baseball. You can play some softball with the guys. You can have some fun. Still get the juices flowing a little bit. Basketball is the easiest one where I saw
Uncle Drew.
Yeah, I mean you'll have dudes who can play. You're still seeing all these guys that you can still have great runs playing basketball post NBA or. You can still do that.
Tennis, you got pickleball. You got
tennis.
You got a different version of it.
You can still play tennis.
You can still play tennis, but you can play competitive pickleball. There's not as much running and all of the what it would take to play at a high level of
football.
Tennis.
What you doing?
It's a difficult sport. I'm not saying it's not.
Football. What are you doing?
maybe
You're
flag
done.
Football, maybe playing all-time quarterback with your kids.
But you're not having
coaching, right? But that's where you're getting your fix is like coaching. It's like I want to be around the guys, right? Being around the guys is one thing, but you're not out there on the field being around the guys either.
I don't
Those
see
guys
him
are
being
out
a
there on the
coach
field.
though either. I see him being the broadcast, the podcast, that sort of medium.
I agree.
So you're left. You're going. I think this was attributed to you on Sunday Sound Off. So I just thought it was a great point of once you retire from football, you're done. There's not really a the Thanksgiving football feast with your family. You think Travis is lining up and
He's
really
going he's going to Nate's house with the tree in the middle of the field. You know,
yeah,
he's
like,
heading over there.
I think that was a really good point of NBA players, they can at least do something.
Yeah,
football, you're done. So,
only guy that ever did it was James Harrison, and not many people are built like James Harrison.
True.
Where you can take almost a year off and then come back and play at a high level. It's not
At
the
that age.
It's not the quarterback position where you're kind of a statue.
And people have talked about Gronk, but Gronk was like, what, 30, 31?
Yes,
when he took a year off and then came back?
We're talking 3 or 4 years ago of Kelsey's career then.
Right, so if Kelsey were to take a year off and then return, he'd be 37. He'd take his 36-year-old season off and return at 37. He's not returning at 31. All right, there's a little bit of a difference in how your body feels. And even then, it was Gronk played for, a year? And then said, I'm done now. Came back, got the fix again, and now I'm done. Where I don't think when Kelsey's done, he's done.
Yes.
When he's done, because his second career will pick up at that point. And, it's a matter of, does Kelsey feel like he wants to have a diminished role and a diminished play, numbers? Because what this offseason has to have, and this is going to be, to me, a common theme that I will be talking about this entire offseason, is whether you want to call it restructure, redesign, reinvent, whatever term you want to use for it, that's this offseason and the offense. They have to redesign the offense around Rice and Worthy, not Travis Kelce anymore. The offense is not designed around Kelsey, you get open. We're going to run this play, and Kelsey, you're going to find the soft spot, or they're going to run man, and Kelsey's going to beat safety because he's quick enough, or a cornerback because he's big enough, or a linebacker because he's too quick. Like, okay, he's going to beat those guys in man-to-man. He's not doing that anymore. He can't beat man-to-man. Not the way that he used to. Zone, he can still beat a zone. But the offense can't be around, let's get the ball to Kelsey. Let's find Kelsey here and there. The offense is Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and Patrick Mahomes. You can sprinkle in Kelsey. He can still be a part of it. But the offense needs to be designed around those guys. And then if you draft a running back and you increase your running game, then hey, great, that's fine. But this is an offseason to where you're reinventing. So if he returns, that's also part of the conversation. One, we can't give you $19 million against the cap. So let's work on this. And the offense isn't going to be designed around you and Mahomes just simply playing off each other. It's going to be Rice and Worthy and you a part of it. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. With Myron Metcalf coming up in the next segment. Breaking news out of the NFL or NBA. Breaking news out of the NBA. Victor Wembanyama is out for the season. Expected to miss the rest of the season, according to the San Antonio Spurs. Deep vein thrombosis in his shoulder that was discovered when returning from the All-Star game. So he was listed as doubtful for tonight's game with a sickness. That's what they listed him as, sick, doubtful for tonight's game. The Spurs have since put out a press release saying that he is expected to miss the rest of the regular season. Deep vein thrombosis in his shoulder for Victor Wembanyama. Spurs on the very outside looking in of the playoffs anyway. But still, a star like that, you want to see him continue and finish the regular season. So we'll talk with Myron Metcalf, some college basketball coming up next. just simply decided we weren't talking about Missouri unless they won a conference game, that we were going to talk about KU and K-State and other things going on in college basketball, because didn't really feel like it was worth it to say, no, we've got to spend time talking about this for Missouri, when, it was the same song and dance. But, man, what a difference a year makes for this Missouri team. And, Myron, I guess I'll just ask, your reaction to the game last night. Mizzou scores 110. Not many teams can simply outscore Alabama. They did at home, 110-98. Just the third loss for Nate Oates when his team scores at least 90 points in regulation. They are 52-6, or excuse me, 56-2 is their record. 56-3 now after last night. So, what's your reaction from the game?
Yeah, I thought last night's win was Missouri going from a good story to an actual contender. I think there's a top-tier team that you go, okay, these teams win the national championship, the 7 or 8 teams. But that next tier, Missouri is right there. And I think that's what they proved. They can play against different styles. I mean, the thing about Alabama is it's just so hard to contain them. I mean, fastest team in the country, they can score so quickly. And I think for Missouri to go into a game like that, where I think a lot of people were saying, well, you're kind of slowing them down, it was still one of the fastest games that Alabama had played, 79 possessions. So to keep up with them under those circumstances says a lot about what Missouri can be and I think what their ceiling is. So I think last night's win was, all right, before that, second weekend team. All right, let's see what happens from there. Now you're having a conversation about Elite Eight, Final Four sleeper.
Yeah, it's interesting because, in college basketball, it's so much through the prism of, okay, what can this team do in the NCAA tournament, especially with Kansas here in the area? All right, this is what Kansas is doing in January and February. Yeah, but how does that translate to what they'll do in March? And for Missouri, so often it's, okay, how is this going to translate to them getting to March, them getting to the tournament? And, can they make a run? Can they get to the second weekend? And the story of Missouri this year and what has been this ascension to now, when you say going from a good story to a contender, I hate to, just simply view it through the prism of, okay, well, what can they do in March? But, that's where we're at. And for Mizzou, I felt like forever, really, it's about, can they find a coach? Can they find a team to win 4 games in the tournament? Just win 4. Winning 6 would be awesome, but Missouri fans are just asking for 4 games in one tournament. And that 2009 team went to the Elite Eight. People felt 2012 was good enough to go to the Final Four. They lost in the first round. That was a rough end to that fun season. And this is the first time since those couple of teams that you feel like this one has a real chance. What I like about this team, Myron, is when it's NCAA tournament time, I try to find a team that can win multiple ways. Whichever matchup you go up against, can you slow it down? Can you, win a game that has to be a defensive game? Can you win a game that has to be an offensive game? And while Missouri doesn't play the best of defense, they're top 50. They're also, not in the 100s of defense. I think this team, Myron, is a team that can find different ways to win. I think they can put on different skin in the tournament, which with the different matchups they'll go up against. Not saying that they will win those, but I think they can, be in a game against any type of team.
Well, I think we saw that yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. Because, again, Alabama's not a team you can simulate. I was there before the Auburn-Alabama game at an Alabama practice. You can't go to practice and simulate what they're going to do and how they play and the pressure they put on you. And just the fact that it's like a heavyweight fight. In the 9th round, they're still going as fast as they were in the first. I think that's what makes them so difficult. So you would think that's the kind of team that could overwhelm Missouri. And yet they just toyed with them. I mean, Alabama made a run to close the gap, but if you watch that game start to finish, they punched Alabama in the face, man. And I think you got to be able to do that to advance in the NCAA tournament. It's a team that doesn't turn the ball over a ton. They force a lot of turnovers. They're a very efficient team, good shooting team, top 10 offensively, getting better defensively, top 50. And they got a lot of veterans, man, who are all playing with that collective chip on their shoulders. I tried to tell you last year, we had a lot of debates, man, and you tried to get me to talk about Dennis Gates. And I would always say, man, listen, I get it. This is terrible. At the same time, you got to give him more time. And I didn't say that just because of my personal tie to Dennis Gates. I think it has to count for something when you won at every level. Dennis Gates was an incredible assistant. Like, that was his reputation. If you knew Dennis Gates, if you know people that he worked with, incredible assistant. Then he goes to the mid-major ranks at Cleveland State, takes a team that people maybe thought was an afterthought to the NCAA tournament. Then he gets to Missouri, leads them to the NCAA tournament. And as bad as it was last year, we just sort of forgot, like, how many injuries, how devastated they were by this series of misfortune, and they couldn't get back on the road again. And now here he is healthy with a lot of those guys back. You add Mark Mitchell, and he's showing you the kind of coach that he can be when given that support.
Yeah, and I know we talked about it last year. My frustration was how many close games they lost, and I'm like, man, I feel like, as a coach, can you find a way to get over the hump? But he earned a third year by winning a game in the tournament his first year, and what he had done before. This was a pretty crucial year for him, and especially with a new AD coming in. And he has, absolutely killed it. And looking back, it's, we can see the issues with the injuries because John Tanji has been awesome at Wisconsin. I mean, he's got back-to-back 30-point games against Purdue and Illinois. Those are pretty good teams that you're going up against and winning for Wisconsin. And he's dropping 30 in each game. So that was a guy. Caleb Grill not playing last year. We know how good he is. So, yeah, that would certainly change some things. And I do wonder, Myron, with this particular team, what we're seeing when you've got, Mark Mitchell is a transfer. Caleb Grill's been around. He's been there 2 years. Bates has been there 2 years. Gray, his first year. There's also Anthony Robinson, a recruit. You got some other freshmen that are recruits. Is it trying to find the mix of some NIL transfer guys that can come in, but also stay with, high school recruiting and developing some of those guys is I guess easy to say, yeah, it's great, just recruit high school guys, develop them, and then supplement with NIL guys. But how difficult is that in today's day and age to be able to do that, to sort of try to mesh and weld those two sort of ideologies?
I mean, it's very difficult, right? And everyone's trying to figure this out in real time. But
yeah.
I think culture matters. And the biggest thing that I think fueled this year is you got guys on this roster, even if they weren't playing, like Caleb Grill, who lost 19 games in a row last year, and they came back. That in and of itself tells you about the culture that he's built just going into year 3. So I think you have that. You had a guy like Mark Mitchell, who was a key piece of the culture they had at Duke last year. You get some mature guys, and then you get the right recruits, right? Because you need recruits who can understand that you're coming in and you're probably going to be competing with a 23 or 24-year-old for minutes, for opportunities, for shots. How do you deal with that? So I just think it's a combination, and it'll vary. I think there'll be years where you go, all right, you're developing more guys. There'll be other years where your team's depleted and you just got to say, we need 5 guys in the portal. So I think you just have to be able to think of things in terms of 1 year, because that's all teams are right now. It's just a 1-year situation. The future is unknown, but you're building for next year, and you need a guy who can bring guys together who might be coming from different circumstances. And I think Dennis Gates has proven that he can do that. I mean, all those guys silencing the crowd, that thing they were doing after last night's win, it just shows how they've come together in a wild moment for a franchise that people had just written off completely with that losing streak, and now they're going to go into the postseason. I think is a team that will be a sexy sleeper in a lot of brackets.
The Myron Metcalf's our guest from ESPN, presented by YouthRiseKC.com. The number of players on this team, like as this season has gone along, we've talked about here on this show with Sterling and myself and Dylan and different guests we've had on, just like the pieces feel like they fit. Like there are some teams where it's like, man, that is going to be worth if you chopped it up for parts, sold it for parts, that you're going to get more value out of that than what that team is. And there are certainly parts that you can get value out of with this Missouri team, but the pieces seem to really fit. And I don't know, It's not very common in today's day and age where a coach will go 10 deep and any one of those 10 guys might play 12 or 13 minutes that night. where Marcus Warwick's, played 2 minutes last night. He played like 25 against Auburn, and he played a number of minutes against A&M, played almost, like 12 minutes in the second half against A&M, played 2 minutes last night. Marcus Allen comes in. Jacob Cruz has had games where he's played 25, 30 minutes. Is that a culture thing to where guys, they understand, they know their role, they play it, and on any given night, they may be on the bench watching for 38 of the 40 minutes, or they might be out there for 20 or 25?
You got to like each other, I don't know if Kansas has that, which is what's affecting them, I think. You got to like each other, and I think Missouri does. I think you also – it helps when you're winning.
Yeah.
When you're winning, it's easy to be like, hey, man, let's do this. Everyone's going to play. Everybody jumps on board. When you're struggling, it's a little harder. But I think they genuinely like each other. And that's been my biggest question about Kansas.
Yeah.
Those guys don't look like the kind of dudes who are really clicking off the court. You can see it. Whereas Missouri looks like those dudes went from the gym to – I don't know what kids play, what games they play, Call of Duty or whatever.
2K.
You know what I mean? Like, they just look like that kind of a group.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Dennis Gates has been able to create. And listen, when guys came back, the fact that he could use the we're going to prove the world wrong attitude with this team after everything they endured, and it worked. I mean, you start to believe in a dude. All of a sudden, he goes from head coach in your mind to prophet in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Just because he told you this was coming, and now you're seeing it, so it's easy to buy into that. But I genuinely think those dudes really vibe. Kansas doesn't have that.
Yeah.
And that's just what we're all witnessing. That's what Bill Self essentially said the other night.
Yep.
And that's the wild thing about Kansas not having something that Missouri has. Is not a sentence I thought I would say this year.
It's not a sentence I thought I would say in a long time, as long as Bill Self was at Kansas.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this last night. I'm like, I would lament the fact that, you got these Missouri kids that are winning a national championship at KU. DeJuan Harris and Ochai are from the Missouri side, and yet they're at KU winning a national title. I know Christian Brown's from the Kansas side. But I was thinking about it last night. I'm like, man, for the first time in a long time, I do wonder how many KU fans would be like, why didn't Bill Self get Mark Mitchell or Tamar Bates? Like, they're from Kansas. Like, these are Kansas kids. Why aren't they playing at Kansas? Why are they playing at Missouri? When for so long it's like, hey, why isn't the Missouri kid playing at Missouri? It's a couple of Kansas kids, KC kids, but on the Kansas side that are, helping lead a resurgence for Missouri and maybe making a long run in the tournament.
Yeah, well, it also says about the talent coming out of that area, too. Yeah. I think in general, we're talking about culture and Dennis Gates. Dennis Gates found the right mix of guys.
Yeah.
Which I think is so hard.
Yes.
Again, you're putting guys together in this climate and hoping it works. You're hoping guys are going to be good to each other. You're not going to have this drama. And Bill Self, I think what's most frustrating for him is I was in Lawrence last year as things were kind of falling apart, as they were trying to figure out, like, who they were going to be after Kevin McCullough's injury, when it was clear that he wasn't going to be able to help them down the stretch. And Bill Self, the whole quote about, I've been thinking about next year, all month or whenever he said, I do think he put a lot of stock into this offseason. Like, I do think he thought a lot about the right pieces, bringing the right guys together. I was there at Kansas for a practice, I want to say in October, and the pieces were there. What Bill Self didn't know, because I think he worked so hard to create depth, and I think Bill's one of the greatest of all time, and I bet he will admit this at some point. I don't know if he put as much energy into figuring out if the pieces work together. I think Bill Self's commitment after what he experienced last year was, I'm not going to get caught in another situation where a guy gets hurt and we just can't play to the same degree. We just can't compete. And I think he added so many players to avoid that situation and did less in terms of, is this puzzle going to work? And I think that, to me, is what they're dealing with.
Yeah, it felt like when he made that quote, And I'm with you. Like it was, I think coaches always are thinking about next year and the year after that with how because you're always recruiting. So you got to have that mindset. But for him, it felt like we're not going to get into a situation to where we can't score. We're not going to get into a situation to where if McCullough's not out there, how are we going to find points? We don't have shooters. Timberlake's not doing enough. So after Timberlake, then who else? He was brought in to be the shooter, and he's shooting 25%. He's just whatever's going on. He put the Kansas jersey on, and he's not. There's pressure that goes along with that. And so I think, hey, Zeke Mayo, Rylan Griffin, AJ Storr, we're going to go out and we're going to score the basketball. We're going to be able to go out and put points on the board, and we'll figure out roles and fit together. But, man, if I get Hunter and DeJuan on the court playing a little pick and roll and Rylan Griffin and Zeke Mayo can stretch the floor, like we're going to be able to fill it up. And like you're saying, like it sounds good on paper, but then for whatever reason it's not fitting. And maybe it is just a personality thing that maybe the guys, don't get along, especially when Bill Self says that we need to get away from each other for a couple of days after that loss to Utah. I mean, that's as evidence as much as you need when he says we just need to get away from each other. Just
that was weird, man.
Yeah.
Because
usually aren't those trips like you're there and you stay in Utah, you stay there, you get there Friday, you're there Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, like you're there a long time. Those trips are typically where it's like those foreign trips. Coaches talk about that all the time where you're getting that camaraderie, and instead we hear we just got to get away from each other. Like
and it's mid-February.
Yeah.
If you told me Bill Self said this in late November, we got to get to the break or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mid-February? That tells me that this has been building. So I went to that practice in October. Sat down with Bill. He loved the team. But I can tell you, man, even then, he was trying to figure out if he could put it all together, if the pieces would work. He knew A.J. Storr had talent. He didn't know how A.J. would go from top scorer at Wisconsin to being another guy, a contributor at Kansas. And obviously that's been an issue. Rylan Griffin goes to the Final Four with Alabama, comes over as a shooter. I sat in practice, bro, no joke, and watched Rylan Griffin, I think, hit 22 threes in a row. Just masterful. Was just hitting every shot. And I thought, my goodness, Kansas is going to score 150 points a game. Like, they have so many scores. Zeke Mayo, forget the basketball. What a story. Kid grows up in Lawrence, goes to South Dakota State, ends his career in Lawrence. So there was so much, I think, to invest in coming into the year. But I think you can say you're okay with a particular role. And then when you get there, especially if you're struggling, it's harder to accept that. Because now everybody thinks they can go to the phone booth and become Superman. And that's not the reality, but they think they can. They think they're all the guy that's supposed to save this team. And when it's not a team thing, well, now you're really in trouble, man. And I think that, to me, is what they're dealing with. I mean, this is Kansas, man. This is Kansas. You know how many people, when I'm traveling, their bucket list item is to go to a game at Allen Fieldhouse, and they will never do it, right? They'll never do it. But that's their bucket list item. Forget college basketball. In sports, they want to go see a game at Allen Fieldhouse. They want to be a part of the mystique of Kansas. The one thing you can't do in this climate is convince recruits and transfers and other folks the same way you could in the past era of what it means to put on that uniform. Because if you don't know what Wilt did and don't get that, if you don't know what Danny Manning and the Miracles did, if you don't understand how privileged you are to have that opportunity, you can approach things a different way, man. And I'm not saying that's happening at Kansas, but I tell you what, that's the first Bill Self team I've seen quit, where they did at BYU. That's the first time I've watched Bill Self coach a team and guys just weren't responding to him. But how many people get to put on that jersey, man? How many people get to even play on that court? And I think that's one of the things that have been lost in this era, is there's just less of an appreciation for legacy. And it's hard for a coach to give a team that in this climate.
Yeah, and I do wonder, like, as you're talking about that, can you find in this climate Frank Mason or Devontae Graham, guys like LeGerald Vick,
dogs?
Can you find those guys, and then Mason stays for 4 years, Graham stays for 4 years, Svi stays as long as he did, Carlton Bragg a few years, Doak,
And they don't threaten
They might not stay.
Yeah.
They may not stay. but they were dogs.
Yeah.
Like, those dudes would fight you in the alley. Kansas doesn't have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, 2 years ago, well, not 2.5 years ago, they're down double digits against North Carolina in the national championship game. And you know what they did? The dogs responded. Bill Self gave a great halftime speech and all that. But it was, hey, Ochai, how do you want to be remembered? Hey, Christian Braun, how do you want to be remembered? Dave McCormick, how do you want to be remembered? Jalen Wilson, how do you want to be remembered? He didn't have to say a whole lot. But with this team, it's like he's trying to find that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who do you turn to that can be the coach on the floor? And beyond that, because I'm not taking anything away from DeJuan Harris and Hunter, but who can embody the spirit that you want your team to play with? And without the Frank Masons, without the Ochais, without the Devontae Grahams, it's hard to do that.
Yeah, in the NIL, I'd say maybe it's a little bit like drafting a quarterback to where, okay, you only know what it is when you see him out there on the field. Like, we can see the tape in college, we can see the intangibles, but hey, Jaden Daniels, there's so many things wrong with Jaden Daniels, and, throwing over the middle and escaping pockets too early, and, overall accuracy. And then he gets into the NFL, like, oh, wait, this guy's just different. This guy's just there. And I bring that up because it feels like in the NIL era, there's it's almost like until you get there, is this the love of the jersey or is this transactional? Was this guy's here because he's getting paid, or is this guy here because he's putting the Kansas jersey on?
Imagine Sharon Collins being down by 20-plus at BYU.
Well, I think we imagined it against Memphis, right? I mean, he might fight somebody actually on the court.
No, you would. That's what I'm saying. The halftime, you would have heard reports of a whole different thing.
Yeah, right.
It wouldn't have been people are frustrated. It would have been, hey, man, we got to separate some guys because that's how bad they wanted to win.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying these Kansas guys don't want to win, but the question is, do you want to win together? And that, to me, is a hard thing.
Well, everybody wants to win, but it's what are you willing to sacrifice to win?
And if you sign with Kansas, there's an expectation from so many people that you're just going to be there at the end.
Yeah.
And it's nonsense because the climate has changed so fast. I don't know if this team – I knew this team understood the fight because I talked to these guys before the season. They understood the fight. I'm not convinced they were ready for it. And I think that's Bill Self's biggest frustration is because how do you know the fight is coming and you're not ready? And I don't know. This is the same team that had one of the greatest games I've seen against North Carolina week 2 of the season. The same team that battled a Duke squad that could win the national championship. And then about early December, they said, I don't know how much I want to fight anymore. This is supposed to be easier. And at Kansas, you should be embarrassed. You really should be, because there are so many people who just want to be a part of that legacy. And you get to play? I don't know, man. I think this era has created a sense of privilege, a sense of arrogance that it's difficult for coaches to address in moments like this. And I think that's part of what Bill Self is dealing with.
And as soon as you criticize a player, he has every opportunity to jump right into the transfer portal, which I also think hamstrings Bill Self a little bit too, because that's kind of his way of coaching. Is not, not Bobby Knight or anything like that, but he is a tough coach and he demands a lot out of his players. And if the first thing these kids can do is go take $2 million from Alabama from a guy that maybe won't yell at him as much, it's kind of hard for Bill Self to coach the way he has.
But here's the reality, man, and to your point, some of these cats are already in the portal in their minds.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a good point. And their minds are already there. Yeah.
Again, you can't convince kids, and I know they're young men, to make this mean something to you more than it means to the coach. I don't know how you do it. I think Bill Self is trying. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. Well, and it's finding the right guys for the right spots in that position, because like Caleb Grill talked last night when Dennis Gates and Mark Mitchell and Caleb Grill were asked about Dan Dockich's comments about Tamar Bates not being a winner. And Caleb Grill said, as soon as Dennis Gates was recruiting me, I asked him who else he was recruiting, and he said Tamar Bates. He said, well, I know Tamar's family. Like, we grew up, and I immediately called Tamar. and let's play ball together. Mark Mitchell. Oh, I know Caleb. I know Mark, or Tamar. We played ball together. We grew up. So when Dennis was recruiting me, okay, they were 0-18 or 0-19 with the tournament. I called them. What's it like to play here at Mizzou? Man, get here. I'm telling you, it's different. Don't worry about the record. Get here. So then Mark Mitchell buys in. So you got guys that sort of understand each other. And I think it's part of when you're talking about they like each other, genuinely like each other, and they're winning. That makes it easier. And they're also fitting into those roles. There's NIL money that goes along with it, but they're fitting into those roles, and not just for NIL money, but to play and to lead something maybe a little bit bigger than themselves and get Missouri back to, the tournament and making a run and maybe the first ever Final Four in Mizzou history.
Imagine Mario Chalmers is on this team. Bro, we would have had reports of a fight on the plane. And I'm not encouraging it, right? But there would have been, before this moment, something that changed the vibe. Because those dudes just wouldn't have let it happen. And I don't know if Bill Self has enough I won't let this happen guys on this particular team.
Yeah, the Morris twins.
Yeah, what do you think the Morris twins would have said, Myron? They would have been.
I'm saying, they would have had to land the plane somewhere early, because those dudes would have scrapped.
Been like Auburn.
And again, man, I'm not encouraging, but those guys would have settled it before Bill Self had to, and I think that's the hard thing to recreate in this climate.
Yeah. Visiting, we can go on down the list, Tyshawn Taylor and Thomas Robinson, and so many guys.
Thomas Robinson is there's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
You're threatening his legacy.
Yeah, he's going to do to his teammates what he did to Phil Pressey there, and I'm kidding. I'm joking, everybody.
It could happen. And I'm not encouraging the fighting, but
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Dudes cared. You see that Kevin Durant that quarter goal thing?
I haven't watched it yet.
Netflix.
I haven't watched it yet. I almost started it last night, but it was too late. The Missouri game went 3 hours, so.
Yeah, there's a quick scene where Kevin Durant is bawling, just talking about basketball. Just talking about basketball. You see Michael Jordan at the end of Last Dance? Dude, some of these dudes are obsessed with this thing, man.
Well, Christian Brown tweeted out, play the guys that care about the name on the front.
But that's the thing, man. Some of those dudes are obsessed.
Yeah.
And I think you need that if you're going to play at a school like Kansas.
Yep. Myron Metcalf, ESPN, presented by YouthRiseKC.com. Myron, appreciate the time, brother. Looking forward to our conversation next week already. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the basketball coming up, and we'll talk soon, man.
That sounds good.
Absolutely. There's Myron Metcalf. Great stuff from him, as always. Again, you can hear him on game night. You can hear him on Sunday mornings, driving around Sunday morning. Oh, I forgot to ask Myron. Oh, it's Myron there real quick. Myron, you still there by any chance?
I'm here.
Myron, what do you think about that new school, Creighton?
Oh, man, what about that, Creighton?
Dude,
come on, man.
Dude,
you got to know it's Creighton, man. Come on, man.
I was driving with little man. We were going to the J to play some basketball, and we're driving there, and I heard that. I'm like, did he say Creighton? Did he say? Yeah. Hold on. Did he say Creighton? And then I'm so glad you guys.
Yesterday,
you and Matt had to be like, hold on. All right, say it again. Come on, say it again.
No, man, come on.
I meant to bring that up. I meant to bring that up with you, brother. That was great.
Funny stuff.
Yes. All right, man. We'll see you, man. There's Myron Metcalf. That was Sunday morning. They were talking about take your pick. So they picked different teams and things like that in that segment. And it was like, all right, we got this big game. It's Creighton versus St. John's. And I'm driving like, did he just say? So then Matt Jones, who hosts the show with Myron, they were like, hold on. Let's will you say that name again? And he goes, St. John's? No. The other one, he goes, Creighton? It's great. He's like, come on, how are you college, man? How do you not know it's Creighton? I don't know the producer's name of the show, but he was just coming up with different big games that day. So
that is
Daytona
great.
500. Who's going to win in that one? Who's going to win the All-Star game? Right, the four teams that were playing in the All-Star game, whatever. So it was like, come up with those. Creighton, or maybe it was Saturday morning. Maybe it was game day Saturday.
Creighton?
I can't remember which one it was. Creighton.
Where Doug McDermott went. Creighton.
Right, Creighton. Yes, it's I don't know how good of a person they are, but there are a bunch of Cretans out there. Let me tell you about Omaha. All right, how much of it was great. It's like, come on, guys. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. Dennis Gates, Mark Mitchell, and Caleb Grill had a response for Dan Dockich, and his saying that Tamar Bates is not a winner and won't be a winner, and then standing by the comment in a tweet today. But Dennis Gates, Mark Mitchell, and Caleb Grill were asked about that tweet by that guy who's really smart and gets so many things right all the time, never ever constantly getting things wrong over and over again and then claiming he got them right. I don't know who that is. But if that person existed, he'd be named Dan Dakich. B. Thank you to Myron Metcalf, ESPN, presented by YouthRiseKC.com. And one of the things that we love about Myron Metcalf is when he comes on with us, he donates to local charities, local foundations, organizations, and Youth Rise KC, their mission, mentors and provides support to youth between the ages of 9 and 22 years of age. Whether that be soccer programs, mentorship programs, other things like that. So that is YouthRiseKC.com. So thank you to Myron Metcalf joining us. So I had mentioned that the comment about Tamar Bates not being a winner, and that coming from one Dan Dakich, who then retweeted and said, I stand by this, but his tweet last year about Tamar Bates and not being a leader, he writes, Indiana basketball media clamoring for Tamar Bates at Missouri. Told you about Bates from the moment he entered the IU weight room with his family. No chance to win with him. His Mizzou Hoops team has not won a game in the SEC. This was from February 5th, 2024. For 20 years, I've told you about Indiana men's basketball, and I've never been wrong.
Never.
Yeah, which is great. It's easy to just say you've never been wrong. I've got like so many receipts. But
was he Punxsutawney Phil?
Not even worth it. And then he says, I still stand by this. Whatever. Then he tweets out this morning, apparently I pissed off another fan base this time. It's Mizzou whining. Yeah, that's right. It's Mizzou whining. It's not you being a dumbass. It's not you being constantly wrong. I mean, it's just constantly wrong, and then I still stand by it. You were wrong. You can't say he's not a winner because he didn't win at Indiana when he's a big reason why this team is, hold on, winning. You jackass.
At least he's loud and wrong.
Never been
right?
wrong. Never been wrong. No, it's great. It's like,
wait, where's Indiana? Let me go ahead and just check
him
and
and
see
LeVar Ball.
I know where Indiana was when Dan Dakich coached him. I know where the other teams were that Dan Dakich coached.
Do you think the 15-11 Indiana Hoosiers could have used Tamar Bates this year?
No, not at all.
Huh. Weird.
Not at all. I know, Bowling Green certainly didn't need him. I mean, this is a guy that, his credentials are that he sucked as a coach and he stood by and watched Bobby Knight abuse players. He sat next to Bobby Knight while he choked players and abused them. That's the guy we're talking about. That guy understands a winner. He certainly knows how to get a winner out of guys, right?
That's the Kentuckian you talking about Bob Knight. Come on.
No, that's what happened. Did Bob Knight not do that? Are we talking about a different Bob Knight now?
No, he did.
Okay. And are we talking about Dan Dakich? Remember, who's the guy that slid over when they eventually fired Bob Knight? It was Dan Dakich, the guy who's been by his side the whole time that stuff was going on. It wasn't brand new. He didn't say a peep. He was a church mice. He was a wallflower watching it go on. Then wants to slide over and act, whatever. Here's Dennis Gates, Mark Mitchell, and Caleb Grill weighing in on Dan Dakich saying that Tamar Bates is not a winner.
Let me answer this first. I don't approve of anyone directly attacking a great leader, a great young man, a dude who has never gotten in trouble, a guy that has done everything I have asked. I don't know who he's talking about. He may be confusing somebody for somebody else, but sometimes that happens. And what I'm proud of is you hadn't seen Tamar Bates respond on social media one time. And he keeps his focus because he's grown from his experience at Indiana. He never says, I wish I never went to Indiana. Tamar Bates says, thank you to Indiana. He has great friends. His daughter's godfather was his teammate. So from the Indiana experience, we're able to see this version of Tamar Bates. And I am absolutely proud of who he is as a man, what he stands for, his leadership qualities. I just want to sometimes make sure that our guys are told the things they're doing well. It's not about those types of tweets. So I credit that. You guys got anything on that?
Yeah, that's my brother, man. So I don't exactly know what you're talking about or whatever was tweeted out, but, I think sometimes his passion and just how much he really wants it can rub some people the wrong way, but it's always from a place of love. Each and every one of us, some people have to adjust to it, some people are not used to it, but it comes from a place of love and just wanting to win, and, he really cares just about each and every one of us, and it's not about him at all. So just his passion probably can rub the people the wrong way.
And, just going off what they said, I've known Tamar since, he was in high school. His brother's my age, so I've known the family for a really long time. I can't say enough good things, not just about Tamar, but the whole family in general. And then I remember when me and Tamar were both in the portal, and, I asked Coach Gates who else was he recruiting in the portal, and, he mentioned Tamar. And then after that phone call, I immediately called Tamar, and we were talking about it, and, we kind of were talking about coming here together. And so I've known him, and I followed his career at Indiana, followed his career in high school, and, there's not enough good things I can say about him and his family. So that's the Tamar I know. So one of the best leaders I've been around as well, too.
They're winning. Tamar Bates is a big reason. Dropped 26 against Ole Miss. How many did he have against Kansas? 28?
Yeah, the main reason why they beat Kansas.
Caleb Grill didn't even play in that game. Because I remember that twice Missouri's entire team has gone over to the headset when they're being interviewed by SEC Nation after the game is over. Last night was one of them.
Yep.
And Dennis Gates, and then they all ran over there, and then he was about to hand. By the way, he said, "Here, I'm going to give the headset to Tamar Bates," and he goes, "No, Mark Mitchell.
Yep.
Give it to Mark Mitchell." Dennis Gates was handing the headset to Tamar Bates, and Tamar Bates said, no, give it to Mark Mitchell. That guy, he's the reason why we won tonight. Against Ole Miss, Tamar Bates was on the headset, and the whole team ran over to him and was around him while he was giving the interview, right? So it's twice that's happened, and the whole team comes over and involving Tamar Bates in some way, shape, or form, being interviewed and then deferring to Mark Mitchell. He could have put the headset on and got the shine. He could have put the headset on and be in front of the TV on SEC Network getting interviewed about, the Missouri team winning. No, he said Mark Mitchell. That's the guy that you put the headset on.
By the way, with Dan Dockich, I learned even more about this guy. And
nothing to learn.
Well, no, it's nothing good. Yeah. It's actually even I have a local connection to him.
Oh, really?
Fun fact, not good. So this is a total normal reaction to a high school firing their basketball coach, right? It's at the high school that my cousins go to, high school I go watch basketball games at, Scottsburg, Indiana, small town. Love it down there. Again, when I go to Indiana down there, this is where I go. Southern Indiana, Scottsburg High is one of the high schools, Scottsburg and Henryville. When the Scottsburg head coach, basketball coach, got fired in 2020, Dockich urged listeners to go take a dump in Scottsburg and threatening, "I might drive down there and beat the hell out of every school board member." And then he proceeded to call Scottsburg a town full of meth and AIDS and needles. Well, luckily he had a great apology, which was, quote, "Tone is important, people. Sometimes what's funny when said or trying to be funny doesn't come across," end quote.
Yeah. This is a guy, look.
Don't dig this guy.
Here's the thing. If you want to know about him, this is a guy that used his dead father to try to win a Twitter and radio station beef. Claimed on the radio that I had made a joke about his dead father. I didn't even know anything about his father at the time. No idea. We were just having fun at his expense because he does that a lot. He said he was driving around Louisville and he heard it. Now, let me ask you a question. If somebody made a joke about your dead father, would you remember the time, what was said, and who the person was that said it? You're damn right. But he's like, well, I don't remember what time. You know who said it. Oh, they know what they said. Can never produce what time it was said. So this guy used his father to try to publicly shame me and the radio station because he said he was driving around and heard me tell a joke about that, which was just a flat-out lie. Lawyers got involved to tell him that he either stops or we sue, which he did because he knew he was full of bleep. That's the person he is. He uses the death of a family member to try to gain some points over a radio show in a completely different city for whatever reason. That's all you need to know about him. It's just like Chiefsaholic. All you need to know about him is that he stole $800,000 and didn't give his family a dime. That his family was living in their car. That's all I need to know about that guy. Okay? There are a few things you need to know about somebody that will tell you the entire picture. That tells me the entire picture of who that guy is. Using a dead loved one to try to win some radio beef and lying about it. Just a flat-out lie. To the point to when lawyers get involved, he shuts up. He stops talking about it because he knows he's lying. So that's that guy. So no surprise that he would say somebody's not a winner and then be a big part of a team that is winning and say, I stand by this.
He's never seen a winner before. He's never at least coached a winner, so
yeah,
we wouldn't know.
He's been on in Indiana,
No, he's never been a head coach of a winner.
Well, that's true. That's true. He's did 10 years as a head coach in college basketball, and he only made 2 NIT tournaments and lost both games in the first round. So 10 years, 2 NITs, 0 wins.
I like Petty Anderson.
At Indiana?
I like this.
No, at
Bowling
Bowling Green.
Oh, okay.
He was the interim
So
coach
how did
at
he last
Indiana.
10 years there.
Yeah, he was the interim coach at Indiana when they fired Bob.
He lasted 7 games as the interim.
Gotcha.
And he lasted 7.
And he lost in the first round with that team too. So of the NCAA tournament, that somebody else got them to the tournament. He just slid over one chair and then lost in the first round. It's not necessarily petty. It's just one person that I think is just a subhuman. That's all. And he can send lawyers after me because that's true. Johnny's Tavern. We're giving away for Sports or Leisure, 913-381-810. We have two different sides of the questions. I'll do the sports, and Sterling will handle the leisure. Last week, who handled the leisure last week?
Sterling did.
Who handled the sports last week?
Sterling did.
Who handled the biggest portion of the show last week?
Dylan did.
Yeah.
I had to throw it to myself. All right, now over to Sterling for the leisure side. Sterling, take it away.
How excited were you for that?
I did it one. I didn't do it a lot. I didn't try to overdo it.
It was pretty good.
All right, leisure side done. Over to sports with Sterling. Sterling, take it away. All right, thanks, Sterling. Yes, we got different categories here. So we'll play some sports or leisure on the other side of the break. 913-381-810. Load them up first in, first on to play $25 Johnny's Tavern, sports or leisure next.
Oh.
So,
Ooh,
just have to wait
let's
to
miss Monday. Hey, Dylan, what are you doing Monday? You want to golf?
I think I'm busy.
yeah. I think he's probably working on Monday. Are you not working
We-
Monday?
we
Well,
might be
excuse
sick.
me. Are you?
Were you not working Monday?
A lot of people weren't working Monday. It was President's Day.
Shoot.
Okay.
Technicality.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, some of us have to be Gruden grinders over here.
Sorry, you're a Gruden grinder? Dylan is always the Gruden grinder around here. All right, 913-381-0810 is the phone number. Let's warm up with some Johnny's Tavern. $25 to Johnny's Tavern we are giving away for those that get a sports question and a leisure question right in a game we all like to call and understand why it's called sports or leisure. Here on a Thursday, Johnny's Tavern, number one sports bar in Kansas City, 10 locations, including Lawrence and Topeka. So how you play, you give us a call, 913-381-0810. You get a sports question, you get a leisure question. You get them both right, you win. Either of them wrong, you lose. But the question is out there available for someone to call in and request if they know the answer to it, or maybe they've got an educated guess. I don't know. They could throw a dart at that. We give out the right answer when it's been answered correctly or we have simply run out of time to play. That's how you play sports or leisure. Categories today on the sports side. Categories. We have two categories, one with the Chiefs and one with the Royals. On the Chiefs side, we have franchise tags. The franchise tag window has opened up, and while Adam Schefter tweeted about 3 players that could be franchise tagged, one of those being T. Higgins, another one being Trey Smith. Sure. Anyway.
Wait, you want to pay $27 million to a guard?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be franchise tagged, but whatever. So anyway. The tag window has opened up, and so these are players that have been franchise tagged by the Chiefs. Whether they played on the tag or they were tagged and then signed an extension, tag, trade, whatever it might be. So these are players that were at least given the franchise tag by the Chiefs. And then also we have spring training standouts. These are rookies or what would become Royals stars and what they did at spring training before they made their major league debut. Hopefully in honor of Jack Caglione. Starting tomorrow with spring training games getting underway against the Rangers. Bobby Witt saying, the talk of camp has been Jack Johnson. Isn't that what he said? He said it was Jack, right? So the talk of camp so far has been Jack, watching him just walk around, and his presence around everything was Jack has been the talk of everything down there.
He is a good musician, yeah.
So, I thought it was Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
Of course, it's weird because when Bobby said it, he said Jack, J-A-C. I think he probably didn't know Jack Johnson.
How did Jack know that he wasn't talking about him? Because
great question.
He didn't spell it.
I thought he was. I thought he was talking about him. I'm like, that's pretty cool for Bobby to say
Jack.
that. How welcoming of Bobby Witt,
He should clip that out and just say, so that when everyone just thinks it's him.
Does Bobby think he's older than Jack? Who is older?
Jack Johnson's older.
By how many days? By how many hours? They're twins, right?
They look so similar.
How many hours are they? Does Bobby think he's older though? Looking at this guy, like
I don't know. I'd probably say
this guy. I finished top 3 in MVP.
I don't know.
Have you finished top 3 in MVP of your softball team, dude?
Maybe
I finished top 3 MVP of the freaking
hours,
league.
Maybe difference.
Freaking American League, dog. Freaking American League. You top 3 MVP of shortstops on your team? Are you top 3 shortstops on your softball team, dude? Coming here asking me questions. So anyway, that's spring training standouts in honor of what will hopefully be a Jack Caglione non-roster invitee spring training studly standout that he cannot be denied. He and Carter. Yeah. Let's get a little Carter Jensen love going on. What about the leisure side? What are the categories there?
We have Name That Band. We have riddles, a couple of riddles left. Riddles were very popular last week, so only a couple of riddles left. And then the always famous that no one knows how to pronounce, potpourri or potpourri.
I like the potpourri.
You like potpourri?
Yeah.
Potpourri.
Potpourri. Yep. That's pot pie is what it is.
okay.
The multiple potpourri is pot pie.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this. All right, 913-381-0810. I'm ready to play. Sterling, you good to go?
Let's do it.
Dylan, what say you?
I want me some glory hole.
Okay, that's not what I was expecting, but it turns out he's in a good mood. So he is fired up.
That is top tier Dylan right there.
He is ready to go. All right. He's got the blood flowing, and he is ready to play some sports or
is it now?
Leisure. That's right. Yep.
It's flowing.
Get a little workout going. Here we go. some activities. So much room for activities around here. All right, let's go to the phone lines, and we bring in John leading us off here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. John, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with?
We'll go with sports.
All right, we got franchise tags or spring training standouts.
I think I stand a better chance with the franchise tag, so
okay.
Let's go there.
Very good. Coming to the Chiefs via trade with only 1 year left on his contract, he was tagged while they tried to work out a long-term deal. That deal never happened, and he played 1 more year with the Chiefs. He left as a free agent the next year, playing just 2 years total in a Chiefs jersey after they traded for him.
Oh, man. Let's see, offense or defense? Not opposed to a hint of any kind, but
yes, he is. He plays one of those sides of the football. I can promise you
one
that.
of those sides of the ball.
Although also special teams.
I was about to say, you didn't.
Also,
say
he was
special
part.
teams.
He was also part of special teams.
Okay.
You know, I should point that out too.
All 3 phases.
All 3 phases. You know, not a big part of special teams, but somebody it's pretty vital when you're kicking field goals and stuff. We saw that with the Denver Broncos, how vital it is. But yeah, so all 3 phases. Well, he only played 2 phases. Sorry, offense and special teams is all he played. I just gave it away. You asked if he was on offense or defense, and I just gave it away. He plays offense.
Oh man!
And special teams.
So he was signed as a free agent.
Nope, traded for him.
Traded
for him. There was 1 year left on his deal, and it was kind of understood that they would try to work out a long-term deal, but they would also franchise him. They franchise tagged him. Didn't get a deal done. He played under the franchise tag and then didn't get a deal done the next year. He ended up only playing 2 years in a Chiefs jersey after trading for him.
Oh, man, I'm drawing a complete blank on these guys. I mean, I can't even think of too many franchise tags that we've used. So
there's not many.
I will say I'll just go out on a wild limb and say Johnny Morton, but I know that's not right.
He had a couple nice balls, but it was not Johnny Morton. John, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. Dick Vermeil said that. I didn't say that. Dick Vermeil said that. He was talking about the game. What are you looking at me for, Sterling? Okay, sure. Dick Vermeil never said that then. That's fine. I just made that up. Sure. Good night, man. I mean, come on, man. 913-381-0810.
We already have as many people who have not won. We don't call losers on this show. As many people who have not won as we did all of last week.
We call it community helpers.
Yes.
It's like community notes is community helper. He just eliminated Johnny Morton. What
about Morton Anderson?
And Johnny Morton was eliminated in some fighting when he was done playing football as well. Let's go to Lindsay next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Lindsay, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with?
I'd like to name a band if you guys don't mind.
All right, Lindsay, let's name a band. Around the World, Californication, Can't Stop, Higher Ground.
Is that the Blue Cold Chili? No, it's the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yes, it is.
I was thinking Blue Cold, too.
You were thinking Blue Cold?
Glad you said it,
The
not
lukewarm
me.
Chili Peppers.
So stupid, man.
Lukewarm Chili Peppers is my cover band. If you guys want to come see us, we play Lebo's house. He seems to like us enough, I guess.
I would go, but I'm not allowed in Lebo's house. So
not anymore. Not anymore. Not since the incident.
Not since the incident.
The spaghetti incident, right? That was a different band.
That was Guns N' Roses.
That's right. On to the sports side, sir. We've got Chiefs franchise tags, and we have spring training standouts.
Can I get a new Chiefs tag question, please?
Yes, you can. Let's go with this one. This lifelong Chief is in the Ring of Honor. He was a 6-time Pro Bowler. His first Pro Bowl came in a contract year, good for him, resulting in a franchise tag. Scott Pioli, after placing the tag, said that offseason was their top priority to get an extension done with this player. They did, agreed to a 5-year, $60 million contract. This player would play 7 more years with the Chiefs and leave right before the Chiefs started this dominant run. Although, face is still around. Still around.
Still around.
Yep. Franchise tag. Scott Pioli placed a tag on him. 6-time Pro Bowler. That was his first Pro Bowl year. Then made it pretty much every year after that. But top priority to get him signed. They did get him signed. It was a big contract, big deal. Great player.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer. Chiefs Hall of Famer. That's
oh,
correct.
my gosh, I'm blanking. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to say Rodney Hudson, but I know that isn't correct. So
No, that is not correct. And it wasn't Johnny Morton either. So just in case people were wondering if that was Johnny Morton. Lindsay, thank you for playing, man. Appreciate it. 913-381-0810. We got 2 franchise tag questions out there. 2 of them. Not 1, but 2 franchise tag questions.
Are you related to Morton Anderson?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
Just wondered.
Why would you say that? What would
Well,
make you think?
you said Johnny Morton, then I thought, oh, Morton Anderson.
I see.
I was wondering if you were, is he Danish? Seems Danish.
Yeah. I'm also not related to Anderson Cooper either, so people have wondered that. They've got a lot of questions whether or not.
What about Cooper DeJean? We can keep going, but then DeJean kind of.
Yes, actually. Third cousin, father side by marriage. Let's go to Avery next up on Sports Radio 810. Avery, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with, sir?
Where do the Royals play spring training? Is it Orlando or is it somewhere more brown?
You know what? It's more brown. They used to play close to Orlando in Florida, but now they play where it's more of a sandy brown thingy. Which question would you like, sir?
And that's my dad.
I'll do Royals spring training stand-up.
Oh, okay. Very good. All right. This player was one of the best prospects in all of baseball when he hit Major League camp. In fact, the number 2 prospect in baseball. He batted .317, slugged .556 with 2 home runs in 63 at-bats despite a shoulder injury midway through camp. Even with the injury, still good enough for him to break camp with the big league club in one of the more anticipated rookie debuts in Royals history on opening day.
Opening day.
Opening day.
Feels like Alex Gordon kind of territory, where he came up with the bases loaded opening day. Shoulder injury. Oh. Yeah. Is that the right time period?
That's the right time period, yeah.
Well, I'll just say Alex Gordon.
It was Alex Gordon, yes. The shoulder injury wasn't serious, but even midway through camp, it was like, all right, shoulder injury, they're just going to send him down to the minor league camp. Nope, still continued to be amazing, and standing ovation walking up to the plate with bases loaded in his first major league at bat to a standing ovation.
Bobby did too in his. Was that his second year or first year? He came up with the bases loaded on opening. Bobby Witt on opening.
It was opening day, and he hit didn't he hit the double down the left field line? And he also made the crazy play.
That wasn't his. Was that his second year?
That was his rookie year.
That was his rookie year.
That was his first game ever because he had that.
I was at the game. Yeah,
well, then you should know.
The game was miserable.
I was at the Alex Gordon game, and I know he was a rookie. It was his first year. Avery knows that. I know that.
The weather was horrible. It was brutally cold.
Because we didn't know if Alex Gordon was going to make the big league club because Mark Tian was blocking him at third base at that point. But
that third base tree.
Yes, that's exactly right. You don't just go out there and pluck somebody off a third base tree. Anyway, over to the leisure tree with Sterling.
Name that band, Riddles or Potpourri?
Well, your choice.
All right, let's do a riddle. With pointed fangs, I sit and wait. With piercing force, I crunch out fate. Grabbing victims, proclaiming might. Physically joining with a single bite. What am I?
Physically joining with a single bite? Oh, man. I think I have to ask you to repeat
Say it again, because that was very poetic.
Was
that Robert Frost? Was that a Robert Frost one? I don't remember.
With pointed fangs, I sit and wait. With piercing force, I crunch out fate. Grabbing victims, proclaiming might. Physically joining with a single bite.
Physically joining with a single bite?
Yeah, but I would focus on that if I were you.
It's like what's that? Physically joining with a single bite, like a table clamp or something. Like
what was that?
A table clamp, like
no, because it has pointed fangs.
Pointed fangs, though.
Yeah, and he sits and
stapler.
waits. Yeah,
oh, wow.
Stapler.
It's a freaking stapler.
Yeah, it's a stapler with pointed fangs. It sits and waits.
Stapler.
Are they
with piercing force? It crunches out fate.
Volume.
Grabbing victims with proclaiming might.
So the paper is victim?
Yeah, it's the
or
victim.
Is this somebody that's just like popping these staples at somebody around the office, like a staple gun.
That'd be a staple gun, and it physically joins with a single bite. So one bite, and you now have multiple pieces of paper that are physically joined.
Missing fifth line, stapler, no butthole.
We'll put you on hold, Avery, and get your information. Congratulations, sir. Well done. I just my bad. That's my bad. So don't give him another shot. All right, Avery, we put you on hold. Congratulations, man.
No, congratulations. Okay.
What just happened, Jason?
Well, I cut him off. I didn't know what he was. Sometimes he says, "I love Lebo."
You got scared or something?
No, I just
what he was going to say. I know.
No,
I get it.
I didn't get scared. I'm not scared. You're scared. You're the one scared. Look at you shaking over there.
Calmer than you did.
Scaredy cat. Let's go to Brian next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Brian, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Can I try the first Chiefs franchise tag player?
Yes, you can. Coming to the Chiefs via trade with only 1 year left on his contract. It was assumed that if they couldn't work out a deal, he would play into the tag. He was tagged while trying to work out a long-term deal. The deal never happened. He played into the tag. 1 more year with the Chiefs. Left as a free agent the next year. Played just 2 years in a Chiefs jersey.
I think it's Orlando Brown Jr.
Correct. Orlando Brown played under the tag and then left with just 2 years played. Got a Super Bowl, though. Helped the Chiefs win a Super Bowl. Would have been nice to have Orlando Brown playing left tackle against the Eagles. I certainly would have taken him. Over to leisure with Sterling.
We have named that band. We have one riddle left, and we have potpourri.
Let's go name that band.
Name that band. Free Will, Jacob's Ladder.
Rush.
Yeah, there we go.
It was easy.
I should have for you. I didn't want to say 2112 or Limelighter, and so I was.
Yeah.
Jacob's Ladder I thought was a pretty good one, but once I said Free Will, I'm like, shoot.
Yeah, that's almost a dead giveaway. That's Permanent Waves, man. That's a great album.
It is. I should have gone like Roll the Bones.
Brian would have still got it, though.
He still would have got it, but it would have at least been,
He's naming the albums. He's naming the disc order.
With a great rap interlude in Roll the Bones, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you needed that in a Rush. Rush was trying new things at that point, which they probably shouldn't have.
Got to try some things.
No, exactly.
You never know. You never know. Got to try some things.
Rush can do whatever they want.
That's right. Brian, you can do whatever you want there at Johnny's. Well, for $25, or you could spend more than that. This is to get your $25 head start. Also, I don't think you can do whatever you want. You got to live within the confines of the rules there.
You're not Rush, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right. Rush can.
Well, it is free will. That's what gave it away.
And $25 of what you spend is going to be free. Brian, we'll put you on hold, get your information. Congratulations, sir. Well done.
Love you guys. Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Oh, we love
right
you
back
too.
To you.
We
right
love
back
him
to
too.
you.
Stop.
Right back to you.
Say
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Olive juice, you too.
Thank you. You were the first one to say it. It's awkward now. Sorry. Next time Brian calls, it's going to be awkward. Love you too, Brian. $25, Johnny's Tavern, just that easy. Back-to-back winners, 913-381-810. Let's go to Ty. Next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Ty, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with?
I'll do a franchise tag.
Yes, sir. We've got one out there already, or we have some fresh ones.
How about a fresh one?
All right, very good. Let's go with this one. This player led the NFL in sacks on a contract year, resulted in a franchise tag, and ultimately a trade. He continued his Hall of Fame career with 3 more teams.
Hall of Fame career, Chiefs Hall of Fame or Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
now.
Dude was a stud.
Yeah, now Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame.
Oh, Jared Allen?
Jared Allen is correct. That is correct. Yes, they franchised him before they traded him. Instead of just, signing him. What if you signed one of the best defensive ends in all of football to a contract?
I was so sad that day.
I was too, but they got some things from Jamal Charles and some other things out of that. So it's, it happens. Whatever. On to leisure with Sterling.
Name that band, one more riddle, or potpourri.
Name that band.
All right, name that band. 1, Fuel. Nothing else matters.
Oh my God, I can even name that band.
Yeah.
That would be Metallica.
That would be Metallica. See, I just don't know because some people are really
like
good.
This is like
and
me
some
coming
are...
up with name that band questions. Name that band, Boys to Men.
Well, it's hard because some people have zero
Name that
idea,
band.
and then I'm like,
Sure.
then I feel like an ass, or I'm like, well, of course everyone knows this. It's a fine line. I like winners.
Let it be.
I like winners.
Yellow Submarine.
Restaurants.
Ty will put you on hold. Congratulations, sir. Well done.
Right on.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Yep. 913-381-10.
All right, I'll make it harder. I feel bad. I'm just giving away too many winners. It's all my fault.
You should feel bad. I mean, Mick's upset at you. I mean, now you've upset Mick, okay? All right. Not only did you upset Marky Mark, but you pissed off the Funky Punch. Everybody's mad now. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. 913-381-810 is the phone number to be a part of the show to place a little sports or leisure. $25 at Johnny's Tavern. We are giving away for those that get a sports question and a leisure question right. You win. There are a couple of questions out there right now. I think one question out there right now about the franchise tags. We've got one question out there and plenty of fresh ones as well on the franchise tags. And then we have Royals rookie spring training standouts as a category as well. What are the categories on the leisure side to reset?
We have Name That Band, we have Potpourri or Pop Pour I, and we have one riddle left.
All right. Any questions out there? Or all of yours have been answered?
No, people just like putting me in my
it's
place
very
and getting
easy.
them all correct because
Right.
they just think it's child's play.
Just a bunch of layups. Like you're like Mark Mitchell last night. Just a bunch of layups.
This is
Just
Mark
finishing
Mitchell last
right
night.
around the
Yep.
rim. Speaking of Mark, I don't know if this is Mark Mitchell, but Mark is next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB to play a little sports or leisure. Mark, what side do you want to start with?
I'm going to do sports. Guys, by the way, I love the show, and I want to do the question that Pioli and the franchise tag.
Absolutely. So we'll get to that one. It was this lifelong Chief is in the Ring of Honor, 6-time Pro Bowler. His first Pro Bowl came in a contract year, resulting in a franchise tag. Scott Pioli said it was the top priority that offseason to get an extension done, and they did, agreeing to a 5-year, $60 million contract.
Yes, they can.
He would play 7 more years for the Chiefs, going to 5 more Pro Bowls, and retire right before the Chiefs went on this run, although you still see him around.
I think it's Derek Johnson.
It is.
What's your second guess?
Yeah, Derek Johnson was never franchise tagged.
What's your second guess?
But it is
real close.
It's around that group of players. That group of players. Yep, he would play in front of Derek Johnson. Well, it's sort of catty corner.
Yeah, kind of.
He would play to Derek Johnson either 2 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Right? He'd play to Derek Johnson 2 o'clock or 10 o'clock.
Yeah, kind of.
Mostly,
Yeah,
depending
mostly.
Mostly?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm drawing a blank. Damn. I don't know. Sorry.
Okay, he
Whoa,
works with
Sterling's still going.
some.
Yeah, you still see him around working with some of the
he works
current
with some of the
Chiefs.
younger
He's
players.
not a coach or anything.
Not
Just
a coach.
Volunteering his time.
His hair is very recognizable.
That's right.
Ali.
Hey, it's Tamba.
Hey, there we go.
This is Tamba, and this is and he had a really bad rap.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
on the Hard Knocks when everybody was doing the freestyles, and he was like, "It's me, and it's Tamba, and it's everybody, and it's."
Yeah.
All right, Bernard Pollard, you go. All right.
See, sometimes everyone needs
Bernard,
a
your
little
turn.
help. Everyone just needs a chance.
Your turn.
Gave Mark the chance. He nailed it.
Yes, that's right.
We have
Tom
Name
Ollie.
That Band, one more riddle, and potpourri.
Name that band.
All right, Name That Band. All right, Dylan's going to love this one. Rocket, Rock of Ages, Animal.
Def Leppard.
Boom, easy.
It's Dylan's favorite band, right?
Dylan's favorite band, right, Dylan?
Yep.
He's nodding his head.
He celebrates the entire catalog, you know.
I knew all those songs for sure.
Well, I would hope you would. These were the easier ones.
Those are the easier ones, yeah.
Yeah. He just hates Rat more than anything.
No, I actually defended Rat.
We defended Rat. Matt Derrick was wrong. Rat kicks ass.
Mark, we'll put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations, sir. Well done.
Thank you, guys.
How about that? $25, Johnny's Tavern heading his way. That was Tamba Ali. Derek Johnson never franchise tagged. There haven't been many, although
there've been 7?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 players have been franchise tagged in Chiefs history. Trey Smith would make 11 if they didn't know what they were doing. I think they do know what they're doing, so there have been 10. Let's go to Brian next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Brian, Sports or Leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Well, this is the same Brian who's been on hold waiting.
Brian, we will put you back on hold.
Information.
Yep, Brian, we'll put you back on hold and get your information from Dylan.
Wow, blame Dylan. Dylan, throw him under the bus.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, we'll put you on hold,
That's a
Brian.
double-decker
Very good,
bus,
very
too.
good. I think Ty won as well. Did Ty win?
Dylan.
I'm just asking questions here. Dylan's got hold on. Dylan's got a lot of stuff going on, all right? Dylan is juggling back there. I got this orange right now. Dylan could be juggling this thing. That's how many different things he's juggling.
Throw it in
back
there. Throw it back to Dylan. Make him do it.
I don't want to do that. I'm not going to throw it. It's going to hit the glass, and it might splatter. Orange.
It's a clementine.
It's a nice little.
That's not an orange. That's a clementine.
My bad. Do you drink your
actually might
tea
be a
with
tangerine
a finger, with your pinky up?
Well,
there,
I
buddy?
do because my hand doesn't. You can't fit 4 fingers around the mug. Too big of hands.
Jeez. Oh, it's a clementine. It's a cutie, is what it is. Okay, get it together.
Thank you.
It's a cutie.
I appreciate that.
913-381-810. Let's go to Shane next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Shane, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with, bud?
Hey, guys. Sports, please.
All right. We got franchise tags, and we have spring training standouts.
Franchise sounds good. Let's go.
All right. Franchise tags. Let's go with this one. Drafted in the first round out of LSU, finished second in the league in total touchdowns a year before his contract year. His contract year not as successful, but resulted in the franchise tag. He actually played on the franchise tag before signing a 5-year, $56 million deal. Oddly enough, though, he would be a part of a team that did not complete a touchdown pass to a wide receiver.
Yeah.
In his career.
Yeah, and you said he was drafted in the first round?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. That's actually my wife's favorite player, funny enough, if I'm right here. Is it Dwayne Bowe?
The Bowe Show. The Bowe Show.
That last part gave it away, I think. You had some question marks, and then first rounder who didn't get a extension, who also maybe never caught a touchdown pass in a single season, John Baldwin.
Oh, that's right.
John Baldwin could have
was,
been also in that.
He was a first rounder that did that. That is correct. Also, Sly Morris, Sylvester Morris, probably that one too. But yeah, man, if he'd have had that 15 touchdown season his contract year. By the way, a lot of these franchise tag players have made their first Pro Bowl in a contract year.
Yeah.
Led the league in sacks in a contract year.
This year,
in a contract year.
Ronnie Stanley, first time in his NFL career, played a full season. Contract year.
That's exactly right. It's most of the time it's undefeated, but for Dwayne Bowe, that was the year before the contract year because the next year he only
was
had
defeated. It was actually the first year. It was
5 touchdowns.
It was defeated.
And they're like, no, if you had 15 touchdowns, we might give you a long-term extension, but we're just going to give you a franchise tag. Over to leisure with Sterling.
Name that band. One more riddle or potpourri.
I want to name the band. I was going to say, I hate that I missed the Rush, but, Sterling, next time try Tyshawn or Think I'm Going Bald. Maybe that would.
Yeah, Think I'm Going Bald would have been a good one. Oh, no, I think I'm going bald. No, it was a weird song great song.
But see, those that love Rush would then know
you would know that. But the issue is I just don't know what people's.
Yeah.
It varies person to person, very much so.
Attempt some Caleb Grills from time to time. You know what I mean? Just like some fadeaways.
Next week, we're going to go hard. Next week, it will be deep cuts.
Just all about these Mark Mitchell layups.
I'll do it. You know what? Next, I'm making it right now before I forget. Deep cuts.
Deep cuts. Deep thoughts.
All right. Surrender.
He did. He just surrendered. That's what he did. He surrendered. That's what happened.
He was damn sick and tired of the.
Yep. He's like, can you just give me the damn question?
Surrender.
And gone. Shane,
call back.
Shane's gone.
Shane.
There's your drive. And under the bridge.
Was it Shane Lacoste?
Driving under the bridge.
Shane Costa. Remember Shane Costa?
Gone. Shane.
Was Shane Costa the baseball player? Yeah, Shane Costa was.
Yep, and there was a Shane Victorino. There's a lot of people named Shane that played sports.
Guys, cut me off.
Shane, you're back on, Shane. I don't know what happened. It just cut. It said something about surrendering, and you hung up. I don't know what happened.
All right, Shane. Surrender. Hello Kitties, Dream Police.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Is that? You didn't give me their most famous one.
Surrender and Dream Police probably are.
Yeah, you're right. But Want You to Want Me, I think, is the one I was thinking.
Okay, yeah.
Is that Cheap Trick?
That is. But I could have got. Well, knowing you, I could have said who's the Bunny Carlos is the drummer and Hello Kitties, and make you have to try and figure it out. We could have done that.
No, that wasn't super easy.
Well, no,
good question.
Yeah, we'll do deeper cuts next week, just for you, okay, Shane? Just for you.
I love it, man. I love that you do music, so that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, buddy, keep it up. Keep it up. Thank you, guys.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Shane, we'll put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations. Well done. All right, there we go. See, look, he hung up on us, and he still ended up winning. How about that? Now I think he may claim that we hung up on him. But we can check tape. My hands were right here holding this orange.
We do have.
I was holding this orange right here. Getting ready to
they just
open
don't,
the orange.
The reason why we have cameras is because they don't trust us.
Yeah. That's exactly right. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling one more segment of Sports or Leisure, 913-381-0810. First in, first on, 913-381-0810 to play a little Sports or Leisure. We got some questions out there and a lot of fresh ones as well with the Chiefs franchise tags and the spring training standouts for the Royals. 913-381-0810. One more segment to go here on this Thursday. More Zone next. You're right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, Soren Petro, heading up until 2 o'clock. I can be done, Soren. I mean, if you want to come on 15 minutes early, I'm good with that.
Wait.
Billy,
we joked about this the other day.
What?
He came in a little early, and it was like 2:53 to put some stuff off, and I made the joke. I guess he's going to keep coming earlier and earlier.
That's
and then,
awesome.
but now that Jason comes back, he's actually like, you know what? No, Jason's back. We're actually coming in even earlier. We don't trust him anymore.
I mean, look, Jason, you've been on the air from 10 to 1:46. It's about time.
It's run out of gas is what it is.
It's
starting pitcher, call to the bullpen.
Yeah, you haven't done a show in 7 days, so 4 hours is a lot to handle for your first day back. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need a vacation from your vacation, right?
It's generous of him.
Depends on if you're on a vacation or if you're on a trip. There's a difference. You'll learn when you have kids.
Yeah, it's true.
Sterling, it's called a trip. When your family goes with the kids, it's not a vacation, it's a trip. Because then when you get back, you always have to plan for that extra day from when you get back before you return to work, so you can have the vacation for yourself, that one day, just a vacation from the vacation. You know what I mean? You'll find that out once you have kids.
It's why I always say when you fly back from vacation or something, Sunday morning is way better than Sunday night. If you come back Sunday morning, you have the whole day to kind of get ready, prepare, relax.
Well, that's why you just take Monday off. See what I'm saying? You take that extra day off. And you can throw your weight around here, Sterling. Just take that extra. You've taken a lot of days off. You know what that's like.
The man that just took a week off. Come on.
Only took 4 days.
5.
Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday was off. It was a national holiday. Did you guys not get it off? Did you guys not get Monday off?
Yeah, Dylan and I shockingly did not get Monday off.
You guys worked Monday? Oh, my bad. I would have totally been here.
We did it for Taft.
Because I told Todd I'm only taking off Thursday, Friday,
I
Tuesday,
did it for
and
Grover
Wednesday.
Cleveland.
Is that what you did it for? Who you working today for?
My man Grover.
Grover! Taft.
Taft in the bathtub.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. Is this a game of Clue? What are we doing here? That's fine, too.
Name that president. What president got stuck in a bathtub?
Name of them. Yeah, name every president got stuck in a bathtub.
At least that we know of, Taft.
That's a good point. It's a very good point. 913-381-810. We do have time to play some sports or leisure in this final segment. 913-381-810. Resetting the categories. We've got the Chiefs franchise tag. We have spring training standouts. On leisure, what do we have?
What president was most excited by the Eagles' victory? John Quincy Adams.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was a John.
I see.
Deep cuts for next week. Name that band, one more riddle, and we have potpourri.
Okay. To the phone lines, we bring in Phil next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Phil, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with, sir?
Hey, what's up, guys? Let's do the Sports Chiefs franchise tag.
All right, franchise tag. We have, all those were answered correctly. The ones that we already had out there, so there's a fresh one. Let's go with this one. One of the best defensive players in Chiefs history, part of the turnaround for the franchise under Andy Reid. He would sign an extension just hours before the deadline, while being franchise tagged, but the hours before the deadline, to be the Chiefs' first player with a $100 million contract. Unfortunately, tearing his ACL later that year. He'd play only 4 more years for the Chiefs, being part of the beginning consecutive conference championship streak. He finished his final 5 years in the NFL playing for 4 different teams.
Was that Justin Houston?
It was Justin Houston. Well done. $101 million, actually. So not just 100. You got a $101 million contract.
It's a good one.
That's better than a $100 million contract. So
but not
over to
quite
leisure.
as good as 102.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I would love the added on from the $100 million contract. I'll take the $1 million contract. I would totally do that. Sterling, you wouldn't.
Name that band, one last riddle or potpourri.
Let's do name the band. That seems to be hot.
All right. Speaking of hot-blooded, Urgent. Feels like the first time.
That's Foreigner.
That is Foreigner. Gosh, I love Urgent. Urgent's such a great song. Love Foreigner. Foreigner's a great band.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well done. Do you have any more layups for people, Sterling? You wanna?
I said next week we'll do the deeper cuts. I just don't
know
you're
playing
people's.
On a 7-foot goal right now.
I like to let people win.
I get it. No, that makes sense.
I care about the people.
That makes total sense. Phil, we'll put you on. Oh, congratulations. the people care.
The people care, and I'm just I'm a nice man.
Phil, thank you, sir. We'll put you on hold. Get your information. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. 913-3-810-810. I did not get any, there weren't any questions out there that we did not get answers to. I think we got all of ours.
Shockingly.
All of ours answered.
All right.
All of yours were answered?
Oh, shockingly, yes.
I just want to make sure that I did not have, that one was a question that we did get an answer to. Answered. And answered and answered. Okay, there we go. All of those were answered.
I just delete them once they get answered, so that way I know.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it. I just keep them for references, see what Sports or Leisure was back in 1999. Like, you know what, February 20th of 2020. What the heck
Shockingly,
were we
most of the bands I've given, I think all the questions could still remain.
Yeah, 5 years from now, you could probably still ask those same questions if need be. But yeah, no, I hadn't done a franchise tag one before, so I thought that would be fun looking back. With the franchise tag opening up,
we had that conversation, what was it, 2 years ago with Chris Jones? Or was that only last year, the year prior? Well, I think it's 2 years ago now.
Well, it was Chris Jones' franchise was 2020, right?
Yeah, but the thought process, when they were apart, the reason being, I remember going through this entire list of players who've been franchised by the Chiefs, and the list was not very long.
No. 2 years ago was Chris Jones wanting the contract extension reworked, and then he sat out the first game.
Yes.
And then, obviously, we know what happened with that contract, and then got the big deal this offseason.
Yeah.
But 20 was when he was franchise tagged, and then they got a deal done with him, 7 days after Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah.
Because they did the deal with Mahomes, and then Mahomes texted Chris Jones and said, all right, and left money there. I don't know how in the hell you leave money on the table when you sign a $500 million contract. That was the great line from Chris Jones when he signed his big deal. How you leave money on the table when you sign a $500 million contract? Well, he did, Chris. Okay, he did.
Yeehaw.
That's right. Yeah. And you know what? He won't be leaving money on the table, but he'll be, moving some of that money from a roster bonus to a signing bonus.
You can actually afford to leave money on the table when you get that much money. You don't have to even put food on there. You can just eat the money.
That's exactly
at that
right.
point.
Yes.
Do you need when it's cold outside? Do you need logs? You just burn money.
Yeah, that would be dumb, but you certainly could if that's the only thing that you had to burn. Because survival, if you die, you can't spend it. You can't take it with you. So that I've heard that. So, and all your money, not another minute, will buy.
You know who's excited for tomorrow? This guy.
Why? What's up tomorrow?
Golf
what are we doing?
show,
What
baby.
are we doing tomorrow?
Golf show.
It's 60 degrees on Monday. It's going to be 60 degrees on Monday and 60 degrees on Tuesday. So we're getting you ready for golf because we'll be at the golf show tomorrow. So we are getting you ready for the 20 degrees on Friday, 39 on Saturday, getting a little better. Yeah. 50 on Sunday.
Yeah,
You're
Sunday
getting
sounds lovely.
A little touching it. It's right there. It's right there. And then boom, 60s. Monday and Tuesday. Take that, snow. Snow is done.
Just bought new irons.
It's gone, right?
Just bought new irons.
Snow's done, right?
Gonna melt, dude.
I know, but I'm saying, but we're done with the snows for the winter, right?
I hope
We've
so.
had 3 of them now, and a random ice a couple Wednesdays ago. Or
we
whatever,
did a whole
Wednesday,
thing when you were gone. You know how Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow, which was supposed to be 6 more weeks of winter?
Yeah.
Well, so the Punxsutawney people, they say he's 100% correct, that he's never missed. Dog thinks he's Dan Dockich, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
But in reality, we found the real numbers. It's about 36%.
Oh, really?
So, again, same like Dan Dockich. He thinks he's always right, but he's mostly wrong.
I think 36% is pretty high for
Pretty high.
him. Yeah.
But the point remains, so the fact that he actually saw his shadow is actually a good thing. Because you fade. It's fade Phil. It's fade Phil.
Fade Punxsutawney Phil.
So
that's right.
I've learned I'm a big fade Phil guy. So,
okay.
yeah, if you believe in that methodology, it's actually good.
Oh, I did
that he saw his
I did the Todd Lebo strategy of shoveling since I was off.
Yeah.
So I did 4 inches twice instead of 8 inches once. So it's much easier to handle. So, because Todd's like, you should, instead of like shoveling it all at once, you know what I mean? So I shoveled in the middle of the snowstorm, and people were like, probably like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? But when I woke up yesterday morning, you know what I was able to do? 3 or 4 inches. Not as many inches as everybody else in the neighborhood had to. So
weren't sore.
Much easier to do that. So I appreciate that tip from Todd Lebo. It was good strategy.
Oh.
But I had the day off, so it was easier to, be able to do that. So
I wish Mick was here.
Because during the day is when I was
This
able
is on
to.
the nose.
He'll hear it again.
This is too on the nose.
What do you mean? I'm just saying, like, the previous I couldn't do that because I was at work. And I didn't think to do that. And Todd was like, why would you wait for all of that snow to accumulate?
Just too much. Couldn't handle it.
Right.
Couldn't take it.
Yeah. So I did that. And I wish I would have done that with the basketball court in the backyard because that was more difficult than the freaking driveway because I only did that once. You know what I mean? So thank you, Todd. It's a great tip.